And we're live. Hello and welcome to the 43rd episode of Game Theory Gang. I'm your host, Matty Allen, with ChrispyMan of hexfire.io and special guest, Trevor Sarver. Welcome.
Yeah, what's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Hey, Trevor.
It's a pleasure, man. I'm glad. You know, Matty, you hit me up like about an hour ago or something like that. I was flying back from all over the freaking place, and Matty had previously asked if I wanted to be a part of this, and I was like, man, I'm going to be flying, you know. But I'm glad we were able to make it work, dude. Like for real. Really
yeah, thanks for being here. And you know, today's topics at least will include. We're going to talk about the HEX conference. What do the statistics mean about where we're at in the crypto and HEX markets? I ran a ton of polls. I got thousands and thousands of votes during the conference. And so might as well share some of those statistics. And I also maybe have some hot takes on the overall viewership. And then we can also pick apart anything that Richard had said. There were some announcements last night. And overall, I just want to thank everybody who spoke at the 3rd annual HEX conference. We had like 69 speakers and everybody showed up and did a great job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, dude. It was awesome.
Oh, and then also we're giving away some NFTs that somebody sent to me to give away, and they're HEX and PulseChain related. So that'll be kind of cool. And of course, we're going to be asking Trevor about what his cryptocurrency experience is and all that good kind of stuff. So starting off, yeah, hit the like and subscribe button. Thanks for being here. If you're watching on a replay, then leave a comment below. Now, Trevor, one of the ways that I know of you is that you hung out with Richard Hart a bunch whenever he was in Miami. And then I also know that that you're a great Hexagon that lots of people admire, and that you know you've been you've had a lot of life experiences. So I'm glad you can make it on Game Theory Gang tonight.
Dude, I watch Game Theory Gang, man. It's my I'll be on my couch watching you and David going at it. It's I love what you guys have going on here, man. And yeah, so I guess my quick little story, if you're not familiar, which you probably don't know who I am, but yeah, man, my name's Trevor, and yeah, it's funny. I found out about Richard through watches. Actually, I'm a big watch guy, so I love watches and all that crap. And so, yeah, man,
it's a metaphor for the time value of money,
right? So man, I'm telling you, I just kind of found out about him through watches, and I was like, you know, I say watches, really? No. Let me correct myself. A friend of mine named Wes. I always forget. Yeah. A friend of mine named Wes and a friend of mine named Steve, and then Ryan. So a bunch of other Hexicans, you know, they called me, dude. It was crazy. So I was going through a really hard time, actually, in life at this time, just personally. Kind of one of those moments where you're on top of the world, but you have some other things that just aren't, you know, those doors aren't shut or whatever. And it was really, really cool, dude. So my story is this. So I was spending time with my family, and my buddy Wes knew that I was down and stuff, and he calls me and he just goes, dude, listen, I know you have like an 8-hour drive. So just mute yourself, shut up, listen to what I have to say. And by the end of the conversation, I was like, I'm all in, let's go. And so, and then through the watch thing, he told me kind of about HEX. He told me about HEX and PulseChain. He told me about Richard, just, the founders, this, that, and the other. So I actually had like the classic onboarding experience, right? And like where I was, Wes really helped me to focus on the product rather than the founder, you know what I mean? And so, and it was I got that experience. It was sick. So, yeah, man. And then I don't know, I was just watching one day some YouTube stuff, and I was like, wait, this is the dude. Like, I'm already invested. Like, I think so at this point. I'm like,
interesting.
I was like, yo, that's the dude, huh? All right, cool. So he likes watches. So I just, you know, hit him up. And, you know, the story goes that Richard was just kind enough to reply, and through a few mutual friends of ours and stuff, I was able to connect him with my friends in Korn, the rock band, and got him up on stage and all that stuff.
Ah, yeah, that was you.
That was me, and
Yep,
so
yep.
and it was just really cool, man. The adventure of knowing Richard and being a part of the HEX community is something that I didn't expect, quite honestly, but I'm very glad that I'm here. So
Awesome. We're glad you're here too.
yeah, totally, man.
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of us are surprised when we come in, no matter what walk of life you're coming from, that
Right.
something syncs up and you join up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to explain.
It's been a really cool experience, bro. I got to be honest, man. Once I found out about it, I felt like, and I'm usually kind of like a team player. So I played in a band for 10 years. That was my job for a full decade. I toured, it toured all over the place. About 200, roughly from 2000. I don't even know. It was about 11 years almost, and we were out a minimum of 250 days a year. Mostly, it was like 310 days a year. So I traveled for 10 years and stuff and did the band thing. And once I kind of like realized the community, like, honestly, I missed that, right? The camaraderie, the brotherhood, the, like, you're in it. Those are your homies from high school. You started a high school rock band. Everybody made fun of you. And then you went and signed to one of the top labels in the nation, and I was 19, and ended up being a 10-year career. Did we ever get massively famous? No, but I was able to meet some amazing people and be a part of some really, really cool experiences, and have a really dope, a badass network, and so all that to say, to bring that full circle and tie it in with HEX, man. So where I'm at right now is I found the community and I was like, yo, this feels like I'm in a band again. This is sick. And so you have your homies and, like, you may not agree all the time or whatever, but the community was there and that was really cool. So that's what attracted me to HEX, dude. So I hope that answers the initial question, but yeah.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, so I mean, we can kind of take this wherever you guys want to go. I know that some people are wanting to hear more about, like, what happened at the HEX conference in terms of maybe things that weren't said, maybe how many people tuned in, and what does that tell us about the HEX community at this moment in time? Trevor, by the way, when did you get onboarded into HEX?
Oh God, man, it was about a year and a half ago, somewhere in there. I'm pretty open about that. I mean, I bought the top. I don't care. I mean, okay. Like, somebody's got to buy somewhere.
Yeah.
So, I'm very transparent about that, because I hope that others can see that there's like a real person out there that has a story of, hey man, I got in and I firmly believe in this, and I've never wavered from that. So it's going to be really, really cool. I mean, where you want to go with the topic here, I'll go somewhere. I think HEX is, it's just, I think we're going to see some really cool stuff this year in 2024. I think that there's the narrative now has kind of become the not your keys, not your crypto, don't hold your stuff on exchanges. And obviously Richard's been talking about that for freaking forever, dude. And, it really feels good. It feels good to have been onboarded at a time where I could see through the bullshit. And, like, I saw the, I was able to just see through and know what Richard was doing, right? And with the marketing and all that kind of stuff. So it made it enjoyable. It made it fun for me, so, but yeah, trying to think where I'm going with this. I got onboarded. Here I am, and I think that there's going to be some pretty incredible stuff for HEX coming up this year. And I know I got a lot of really cool friends who are very intrigued with this stuff. And HEX is the talk of the town. And I know we know that, but it's really the talk of the town coming up in crypto. Because one thing, it just can't really be silenced at this point. So
exactly. Hey, when you're talking to people and they're really interested in it, what do you think the top one or two things are that that draw their attention?
Shoot. You know what's crazy is right now in this season, it usually starts with this. Trev, heard you were in crypto, you broke. You know, and
Yeah.
I'm like, no, man, I'm good, and here's why. And I'm able to talk about my Quattrocincos. I'm able to talk about TShares and all that cool stuff. And it just, I don't know, man. I've not really had a ton of difficulty onboarding. You know where I've had the most difficulty onboarding is just like in the beginning on Twitter, thinking you're gonna save the world on Twitter. And word of the wise, just stick to in real life, man. Talk to people, make a genuine connection with them, educate them, make sure that they make their own decisions, and teach them about self-custody, self-sovereignty, and all these things. And I think you'll be all right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I was polling the community during the HEX conference, and one of the questions that I asked was, "What year did you get into HEX?" And one of the times I asked the question got 475 votes, and the percentages were split. Year one, about 40%. Year two, 35%. Year three, 17%, and not yet was 5%. So, we could see a roll off there basically, and lots of people who were around in year one got highly rewarded, from staking, and whether people bought and sold on a 5x or sold on a double and a double and a double, right? And there were many doubles left to go, or that kind of filtered out some people. And so I think we have more hardcore hexicans like who have stuck around, who have seen great price appreciation. And then we also have, and those are from years like 1 and 2, maybe the first year and a half. And then in the second year and a half that HEX has existed is when we've seen people come in who maybe bought a top. You said you bought a top. Sticker guy did. I mean, actually, a lot of us OGs also bought tops back in the day as well.
You know what? I've never understood. Sorry to interrupt. I've never understood why that's such a you bought the two. Like, I mean, I understand if you're like on something that is just never going to live again.
I mean, look, I bought it 2 cents and it went down to 0.3 cents. Okay. And that wasn't even the first time that kind of thing happened. And it was nice that it went back up higher than 2 cents short, not a whole year afterwards. It was pretty quick, maybe a couple months. But I think people, they're transitioning from being impatient to being patient.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thankful that I'm like, I mean, genuinely, dude, I checked my staker app and all that stuff. I'm just genuinely thankful that at least it's printing me something. You know what I mean? Like, it is doing exactly what it was intended to do.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm cool, man. I got patience. I know that my situation's not like everyone else. I have other means of income and stuff. So I don't. To be quite frank, I don't need crypto right now in my life, and I choose this. I want this. I want to be a part. I want to be a part of this community. I want to help. And I guess I'll say that, man. My my contribution here is not technical stuff, dude. Leave that to like Tangent and all those crazy dudes. Like they know. I'm just some dude who is very, very passionate and sometimes a little too outspoken about like freedom and self-sovereignty, and especially just where we are as a nation, or specifically in the US and like all that garbage. And as weird as it is, like HEX kind of stood out in that regard too, because you had this Richard guy promoting, saying, dude, like, you are in control of you. You make your own decisions. You do this,
Right.
And I mean, that's when I was like, yo, I'm sold. Like, I am 100% sold on this, So, if it all went to hell, which it won't, I'd still, it won't. It's gonna be awesome. It just prints. It just prints. So I love it, man. I love being part of this community. But I will say, I'm stoked for PulseChain. Like
Yeah.
okay, like let's just kind of the obvious in the room, man. Like
all right. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I also was surprised by the results of a survey that I did on day 4 when we had so many people. The amount of people watching live on day 4 of the HEX conference, like, was 2x the amount last year when Richard was on. 2x was the peak concurrent viewership. So
Wow.
it was more than, I mean, we got over 3,000 watching live. And the previous year, I think it had been 1,800 that was the peak, and that was the all-time record at that point. So the amount of people participating keeps going up. Another thing I found really weird about the viewership, I thought that I thought it would get to like 60K views right away, but it's not, we'll have to see where it lands. Right now, it's actually only at like 7,000 on my channel. But then I'm thankful Richard uploaded to his channel, and that's got maybe 10 or 15. But the reason why I would think it's actually bullish, remember, if to me it's almost like, because I'm such a long-term bull, it to me, like, I don't care if we bounce around to a penny. I don't care if we bounce around to like 5 cents. Like, that's a range we're in right now that, like, it's impossible to predict the short term.
right.
But I think the fact that HEX hasn't died, and the other thing is that the viewership, and I'll tell you what I think it means, but the amount of time people spent watching was more than 2 times as well for each person. So YouTube, every 15 seconds somebody watches a video, YouTube is sampling that information. And if you watch for 15 seconds, it counts as a view. But for these multiple hour-long streams, normally we have like a huge amount of minutes watched, because on average, people are watching about 20 to 25 minutes. People watch the HEX conference twice as long. And that, again, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but here's how I'll put it all together. So I think if we have less people watching and they're more engaged, I think that means that staking is doing its job. And whereas with other people in the crypto world, what you'll see is they very rarely ever get more viewers than they have subscribers, because they've screwed over all their subscribers, and their subscribers never went back and unsubscribed. Right. And so when we look at the HEX community, we see that like lots of people are tuning in compared to how many subscribers we have. And people aren't unsubscribing. People aren't getting burned, in the way that other crypto, like, you might be a super short-term person and you're trading HEX, which is not what it was designed for, and you do poorly, and you blame the world, and you blame, the product and all that good kind of stuff. Like, there's those people in every type of market. That's not unique to crypto, but people gambling. But the thing that is unique in HEX is that you don't have a bunch of influencers feeding people to the meat grinder, encouraging them to trade, giving them leverage trading tools, and making people think that they know where the price is going to go. So there's like so many things I think that speak well of the HEX community and the product itself, because of all those numbers I just shared with you. But the other thing that surprised me was that I asked, and 1,200 people voted for PulseChain, are you happy to wait or do you dislike waiting? And 2/3 of those 1,200 people said that they were happy to wait.
Damn.
Thank you so much to Rick in 305 for the $50 super chat. Very generous of you. And thank you for saying I did a great job on the conference.
Yeah, dude, that's freaking sick, man. That's interesting. Those numbers. That's really cool, dude. It's awesome.
Yeah, they kind of match up with what we've seen in the number of stakers as well over the last year, I think.
It's interesting, as my perspective here is that, like, you got like a couple of HEX OGs and then some rando. My perspective is that, man, it's just, it's cool to listen to you guys talk about those kind of things too. You know what I mean? From my perspective, I just really enjoy it. So You know, like I said, I'm not too much of a technical guy, so but yeah, dude, that's an incredible stat. I am a numbers guy. I love statistics, and you know, Hexfire, great site, killer site. I've been on it a few times, so yeah, man.
Dude.
Yeah, dude, totally. You guys, man, that's another thing, dude. There's a lot of stuff getting built on this stuff, man. Like, especially PulseChain, man. Like, this thing's gonna launch with Maddie. Do you know how many projects? Is there a?
I mean, people say the number like over 130. I haven't reviewed that myself. I do have like I have a graphic here that shows like, I don't know, 100 different projects or something. Oh, there it is.
Wow, look at that.
Maybe it's not 100 there, but that's like the first maybe 60 or 80 or whatever. And of course, my product isn't on there because
No token.
I haven't launched it yet. Well, and there's no token. But I don't know. Did either of you guys see my presentation where I talked about it? Let's see, on day 2, I had a 20-minute talk, and then I also brought it up with Richard briefly.
I saw it last night when you brought it up with Richard, and he kind of went back, and you could see him playing the game theory in his head, and he was like, "Neat." You know, I did see that. Yeah, it's cool. It was really cool, man. Like, you know, I'm you know, it's gonna be crazy to see what comes out on Pulse, man. It really, really is. But hey, Maddie, I think what you're doing is cool, and I share the sentiment with Richard, dude. You know, I'll switch gears here, just to be honest with you guys. I told Maddie this before we jumped in. I was like, Maddie, you know, are you okay from your accident? Like, screw crypto. Are you okay? You know, like, and you know, we talked and stuff, but where was I going with that? Why was I leaving that? I totally lost my train of thought, dude. I've been up for like 24 hours. What was I going with that? Yeah, privately, I was like, yo, Maddie, you know, screw crypto. Man, I really lost my train of thought. Everybody's looking at me right now. Where was I going? What'd you just say, Maddie? I really want to talk.
Well, about you know, about the blockchain product I'm making, and just how, you know, you and I were both into like therapy can make people better, crypto can make people better.
Thank you so much, dude. So, dude, I went through a crazy traumatic time in my life, like a long time ago, and counseling changed everything for me, dude. You know, there's a season for it. You know, I don't go all the time, all that kind of stuff, but
yeah,
dude, you got to talk to somebody, man. And I've always been kind of that guy that I do my own thing. You know, I don't want to see the doctor and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, dude, talking is good. And as you can tell, I talk a lot. And yeah, man, I do. Apart from cryptocurrency, Maddie, what you're doing is really, really cool, man. Because that's like, that's an investment into people. And you can't really put a price tag on that, dude. So
I totally agree, man. Like, as a mental health and substance abuse therapist, I spent about 10,000 hours, almost exactly, working with people one-on-one, but also in group settings. I taught a healthy relationships group and a relapse prevention group, primarily, also sober social support group. And yeah, I mean, man, I learned so much about people just by being their therapist. And you know, people really open up when they're in recovery, and when they realize and they have hope that they can change their lives, even in a small way, that some people don't realize that they can change their lives. And so when they get a small reminder, then it turns into a snowball.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And it's just, there's a lot of freedom in just vocalizing something, you know. And I was just at a conference in Vegas for just 2 days ago, and the whole, like, it was for my business or whatever, but the whole theme was just, in this one segment, was all about shutting the fuck up, you know. And like, it's really, really incredible when what happens when you just shut up. And like, for example, in my own life, I lead a team of people every single day. I've got many people hitting me up being like, you know, where are we going with this? What are we doing? What's the next project? What's the next step? How do we diagnose this issue? Blah, 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 blah. And yeah, man, it's just, yeah, leadership solid. So But yeah, man, I don't want to steal the mic here, man, and at all. At any time, tell me to quit talking. But I just appreciate talking to someone, and I think if you're struggling through something and there's a season, you should talk to somebody, and it's very important. It doesn't make you less of a man; it makes you more of a man. And it's going to give you confidence that you did not realize you had, literally. So, if you're watching, dude, take it from me, man. I've had it all, dude. I was drinking what was it? For like 3 years, I drank like 2.5 gallons of whiskey a week. That was my story. Okay. And dude, I couldn't do it anymore. Gave it up, talked to somebody, and it was not that I'm an alcoholic. This was a season. Okay. But it was sick, dude. It was really cool to have somebody. And I went through a couple different counselors. Maddie, I'm sure you can talk about this. Dude, it ain't like some one size fits all shit. You know what I mean? Like, you got to find your guy. So, yeah, man.
Yes.
I'm stoked.
Keep looking around until you find the right therapist. That's for sure.
100%. But Hexfire, well, I'm sorry, Crispy, what you got, man? You're not saying much. Come on, take the floor, bro.
I'm listening, just taking it in.
What you
I
got
tend
here?
to be the quiet one.
Oh, are you the quiet one? I was just
Yeah,
curious.
that's-
And
Yeah.
he's also the insightful one.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people say that, but I can find at least one person say no, that's not true. But
yeah.
Trevor,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it will be really cool one day when we can hang in person at one of these conferences.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
So, we've done some in-person stuff in the past, right? Maddie did get those couple events off, and there'll be new ones, hopefully, right? I don't know if there's one scheduled, but there will be.
Totally.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to do that. In our first year, well, I guess it wasn't exactly first year, but the first conference that we had like that out in Vegas, it was kind of surreal, and you'll hear a lot of people talk about this. You meet all these people that you've only talked about or seen on the internet, and you're seeing them in person, and you talk about alignment of goals. Besides all the partying people might be doing, right? Besides that, the alignment of goals are pretty interesting. What everybody's after.
That is kind of an interesting topic. People chasing money. Some are not chasing money. They're going to use the money to chase something else. So we all have a different intent with our cash.
Yeah, I usually boil it down to the word hope. I think there's some folks, they're just looking for money, right? And you say that I can say that like that's a dirty word, but at the root of it, right? It's the finances and money that people are looking for. But the reason they're looking for it is looking for that hope, right? To not be stuck however they've been stuck, or not to get stuck the way they think they're going to get stuck, and they're looking for that really they're looking for those money printers, right? But not necessarily just because everybody wants to be filthy rich. That's not what it is. They want the freedom. They want the freedom. And I think that's where the hope comes from.
And behavior printers.
Behavior printers, that's right.
Where you time lock and then your goals align and then you like work together with a diverse community of people. And
I see a comment here saying camaraderie, and dude, I will say that, like I spoke on that earlier. I come from the band world, and camaraderie is important, and he's right, man. Dude, especially in these bear markets, dude. Camaraderie is important. You want to have somebody on your side, and it's been nice to navigate with you guys.
Likewise, yeah. And I'm thinking about doing a meetup in Austin, Texas. I don't know. Maybe I'll find a couple other people who can help me with this one, who aren't going to try to steal all the money like T-Money did. And well, he didn't get away with it, but he tried. And I don't know. Definitely, Trevor. You and Big K both have like a lot of event planning experience. So I don't know. Maybe at some point we'll all be able to team up.
Hey, man.
But you're in. Well, I shouldn't say where you're in, but
it's fine.
You have connections in Nashville.
Yeah. that's my base, man. Nashville, Tennessee, and I've got offices there. You know, I used to have all of it, my friends and stuff. But yeah, man, that'd be dope if we did it in Nashville. If we did it in Nashville, I promise you, I got you. I will make phone calls for you. So.
Nashville's a nice city. I like that town.
Yeah, I lived there. I started as soon as we signed. We signed in 2004. If that tells you anything. And yeah, right. We were in the emo days, man. Like the My Chemical Romance, the Fall Out Boy days when it was cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah, if that shows anything. But we've been in it for a long time, man. So but I would love to help. I would love to help with the Nashville thing. If you ever need anything in Nashville, dude, hit me up. Totally. I'm thirsty as hell right now.
Yeah. Maddie, you ever been down to Nashville?
Oh yeah, I like Nashville.
All right, so you know.
We could have a Western themed Hex meet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. At Nashville, I will say, man, I've seen it turn from country music city to just the LA of the South, and oh, dude, it was. I needed to get out. And I'll be back. You know, so you know, for those, I don't really care. I don't live there currently, but I do travel back and forth a lot, and I have every intention to move back within about I don't know, say a couple of years, something like that. We'll see. So
Nice. Yeah. So you heard it here first. We're batting around some ideas and brainstorming for the next Hex conference. Or Hex meetup, actually, I should say, because I think all of these things are good for the Hex community, but I'm missing the in-person meetups too. You know, we had one PulseCon. Well, it wasn't I shouldn't say, but T-Money ran a scam there, but then the community kind of reorganized and made it so that people could have meetups outside of what he had planned. So,
dude, people, I shouldn't be, but man, I was somewhat shocked with just like, damn, man, like there's a lot of scammers, you know, that have infiltrated the Hex community, man. You guys had to put up with this shit for a while. So.
Well, they're everywhere, man. Not just in our environment and community, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how much of that goes on.
It is wild, and it's it's out in plain sight. You know, it's completely in plain sight, and it's just it pisses me the fuck off, honestly. There's guys like you know, the Logan Paul thing's being exposed right now. Then there's the what is it? Who else? I mean, literally, we all know them. We don't have to name them. They're all scammers, and it kind of blows my mind how they're not in jail. Just but then again, it doesn't blow my mind. It's weird, man. But I think that I would hope that there's some sort of like some of these people can get made whole in some way. You know, we can all be assholes on fucking Twitter, dude. But like, yo, seriously, like people are hurting, and I hope they get some of their shit back. So
definitely.
Yeah. I'm over here I'm watching my batteries. They're charging for my keyboard and mouse. But no, man. Oh, that's my puppy. That's my dog, guys. And if you see this, I'll just say it. I run a merch company, and yes, I made stickers of my dog.
So,
there you go.
Ruby. That's Ruby. She's a little pit bull, and she's the sweetest thing in the world. So, but usually she doesn't bark. She'll stop me that.
Yeah, apparently, Inviting Freedom's mom named her dog after me, Maddie Allen.
I think that's a compliment.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's really sweet French bulldog.
Oh, that is cute. Come here, Maddie. Come on.
That's right.
Come on.
Well, I guess they're gonna go to dog shows when when Maddie grows up. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
The Maddie all in. Yeah. Hey, so you hear my question last night to Richard? Maddie, you were listening, right?
Oh
And,
man, my
and
brain was going all over the place,
I bet, man.
trying to
There's so
manage
much.
everything.
Yeah, so I liked his answer. I won't get it exactly correct. You know, I won't remember it exactly correct, but I think his answer was really. I asked the question. You know, what kind of metrics or tech should we be looking at designing that might not already be in existence? And he went a little bit different with it. He went more like, where's your one pager? You know, where's your elevator speech? He didn't use those words, but for how to get Bitcoin people over, how to get
Hmm.
XRP people over, you know, at least make them aware of the option and how they
Yeah.
would do it.
Yeah, like the
You know,
steps.
and so there was like 2 or 3 things like that that he talked for a good 10 minutes almost, I think, about that subject. It's pretty cool. But you know, that's one of the things I keep thinking about, right? And you and I had this conversation too. So all of us, I'm going to guess, many of us start thinking about, hey, what would it be like to do our own projects? You know, maybe we should design something. But you know, coming up with something that
Yeah.
is better than Hex is kind of like very hard, right? In
Yeah.
fact, I haven't seen anything yet. And so
Because
then that
it'll probably end up being a security or a vampire attack, and both are things that should be shunned.
exactly right. And so then you end up having these conversations, you know, with people. And you're like, well, we should do this or try to do this, and it all comes back to that same thing: is maybe we shouldn't be focusing internally. We ought to be focusing externally. And how do you bring people in from other cryptos? You know, what's the funnel look like? And there's a bunch of them, and I know a bunch of people doing a lot of different things. But yeah, I just found it interesting that he was talking about that. You know.
Totally. Yeah. That's kind of new ground.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah, like because if I Googled, you know, how to convert Bitcoin to Hex, I don't know that I would find the right steps of using Ren Bridge or whatever like the latest thing is. For me, it's been a while since I sold Bitcoin for Hex because you know, I did that a long time ago, and you know, I did as much as I would do, uh, meaning like pretty much all the Bitcoin I controlled outside of like deep cold storage is like something I turned into Hex. Back then, I was using maybe a Ledger or Trezor like plugin to convert to Ethereum, and then you know, basically like they have some sort of aggregator in those hardware wallets. And but I did notice that here's some kind of interesting news just in the past week or so. Change Now, which is one of the services that I used to convert my Bitcoin to Hex. Change Now was advertising about Hex, like, hey, come buy it with your credit card, like, you know, come get a
Really?
good rate. Oh yeah, they tagged me in it actually.
That's pretty cool. Actually, an advertisement, huh? Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, it's
And
on their Twitter, and yeah. Uh, oh, I got another funny one for you. And yeah, let's just keep going back and forth on like different things that happened.
I do have a question for you, Manny.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm kind of curious, man. Were you, when you decided to launch your own, when you decided to do Time Pays Me, were you, you know where I'm going maybe with this, but like, were you concerned about like, you know, just everything? I mean, like, you know, you're so invested in Hex. You obviously are very important to Richard. You know what I mean? Like, did you, was it important that you sought the approval of him? Like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, like it was and it wasn't, you know, like because I always operate independently anyway, but it, you know, I teamed up from the beginning with a dev who wouldn't, you know, even be interested in writing any code for something that would be bad for Hex.
That's
So
awesome.
like starting the foundation correctly, having somebody, you know, who I trust, who, you know, wants the right audits to get done, and, you know, just like can be, you know, somebody who educates me about the things I don't know, and then, you know, working together to come up with the right game theory. And you know, the game theory is so important, and you know, I hope that through Time Pays Me, whether it's going through every line of the code on a live stream and teaching people, you know, what the decisions were, why this is better than that, you know, like what does this do? I think that'd be something cool to incorporate. But I also think just explaining, like, you know, if I had tweaked the game theory in one little way, how would it have changed everything? And that you know, because that's a good lesson just for people. Look, even if people compete with me on anything that I do, if they have good intentions, that's a win for everybody. And so that's, yeah, that's another reason why I like doing the shows and talking about things so openly. And I have tried to be like pretty open about the development process. But any questions you guys have, or like that one in particular, like was a good one, because I was very intentional about not screwing up my social capital in HEX. You know, about talking to Richard about it privately, and you know, and so I really care a lot about what the community thinks, because I'm so against vampire attacks, because I'm so against things that are harmful to people or things that are illegal. So
Right.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate it, dude. I was just genuinely curious. Thanks for answering, man.
yeah. I still don't know how to market it though, which is interesting, because there's two completely different pitches. It's like people who understand HEX will understand Time Pays Me is a way I needed to time lock my PulseChain and PulseX tokens, and to even dollar cost average with my savings. With USDC, I can drip that to myself weekly. With dollar cost averaging in to even HEX in a bear market. Like, I wish, like, what do? I put physical barriers in my way to access my crypto, just so that I don't trade it, just so I don't like FOMO in all at 10 cents and then we go down lower. Like, I probably would have done that if I didn't put barriers in my way. And so what better thing could we put onto the blockchain than you know, something that also I think is the complete opposite pitch is, what about the security that people get who aren't even, they don't even care about time locking. They don't want to hear about time locking. Time locking sounds like a scam. APY sounds like a scam. They don't want to try HEX because Richard bought a watch or something. You know, like there's all these people, but what do we all in crypto and outside of crypto have in common? Is like we want our money to be secure. We don't want to hack. We want to be able to undo a hack in MetaMask. And whether people don't trust crypto because Sam Bankman-Fried and all these middlemen who are everywhere swarming in like the shallow waters of crypto, it's like when people dip their toe in, they're going to be trying something like an FTX. They're going to be trying something like Coinbase. And when you give your money to a middleman, that's not crypto anyway. So people think that they're in crypto. They get burned by hacks, by hackers. They get burned by middleman exchanges. And if they had only had a way to keep their crypto secure, maybe they would have trusted it more. And so like smartvault.me is like the pitch, or the opposite front end.
Well, maybe there's two campaigns.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you need to do two different campaigns.
I think there's gonna be two front ends, and I think what we ask people. So I would actually, I'd love your guys' feedback on this. What I want to ask people, and I don't know if this makes sense, and people will tell me if I'm wrong, please. Like, we should be asking on the front end for Time Pays Me, like, how long do you want to lock? Right? And then it drips back to you weekly. And there's a 0.1% fee. And so like the longer you lock, the less fees you pay, but like it's always the same amount. So, you know, if you do a 2-year lock, it's only 0.1%. If you do a 5-year lock, it's only 0.1%. And then you're dripping back your funds along the way. On smartvault.me, it could be that the front end is asking people, how much do you want to secure and how much do you want to access each week? And you can choose, you want to be 99% secure. And then it automatically fills in, being able to get 1% out a week that's a 2-year lock. And so it's not even focusing on the locking part, other than the fact that you don't want all the funds to be movable all at once. Otherwise, a hacker can get them. But if you've created a pre-selected recovery address with your cold storage wallet, that allows you to undo a hack, and it allows your time locking to really go that much further with trusting it, being confident, being able to interact with airdrops or whatever it is, and not get burned. And have these cool DCA features where it's like a DCA smart contract. It's like, it's a way to undo a hack in MetaMask, and it's a way to time lock any PulseChain or Ethereum token. So that's
the question here. Gold keys, like, how would a user know if someone does a withdrawal request? Is there like a notification?
You can set it up on Etherscan to email you. So what I did is I set up a separate Proton Mail, and I told my phone, basically, I told my phone, like, I want this notification to come through separate from any other email, because I don't get a notification on my phone every time I get an email. That'd be too much. But to have a completely separate email address that's plugged into Etherscan, and so it pops up on my screen, and it really, really, really alerts me. It's not going to go away until I acknowledge it. That's how I know if there's any activity on a specific address that I've added to that.
Right. Okay.
But also we could have some notification system, but that wouldn't be as DeFi. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't decided yet, like, how much we're going to prioritize that. But the point is that it already exists. Whether my group should be responsible or not, I think I need to be careful and say, like, it's possible to, like, notify yourself, but what if our server's down or something, and somebody complains? Hey, what's up, Dollar Cost Crypto? Good to see you in the chat there.
I don't even see him anywhere. What? Where's he at? I didn't even see it. Dollar Cost is in this thing. What's up, dude? Oh, there he is. What's up,
Did someone say DCA? That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I love
DCA.
Oh, he's such a good dude.
Yeah, speaking of Gold Key, like the I think one of the, at least one of the Maximus DAO perpetual contracts, well, all of them, in fact, should be compatible with Time Pays Me. So you'd be able to drip yourself something so rewarding as our favorite source of trustless APY. Gold Key's on that team there that's done those.
Yeah, you guys are all smarter than me, man. I just have a fucking Twitter. So, I mean, it's supposed to be fun.
What I think what I know is a lot of the people in the HEX community right now, they're here because, like the three of us, they had a positive experience with HEX on the social side of things. There's other people who get into HEX and, like, they don't really have anything magical happen on the digital side, let's say, like, outside of community building. And so wouldn't it be cool if Time Pays Me became a way that people would have a really positive, rewarding experience that, like, helps them program their behavior in the right way? If people can use something like Deci, which is a 10-year HEX stake that's pooled, and you could drip it to yourself. You could drip $100 worth of Deci to yourself for 55 years if you wanted to, with Time Pays Me, and every week you would get a paycheck. Every week you would have you'd be able to take some action to interact with the blockchain in a way that, like, supports HEX and supports your future self, having that interaction and that relationship with your future self. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see like what people think once they start playing around with it on testnet. But
Yeah.
I've been dripping into myself some like, you know, 1 billion Pulse test coins and stuff like that. I gotta say, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, if you start taking your personal feelings out of it for a second, right? If you had a group of people, a family, let's say, kids or whatever, and you just weren't sure what kind of decisions they're going to make, and you wanted to do something for them, but not necessarily try to control their lives completely, right? A lot of people head towards these things like, trusts and whatnot, right? Well, in a way, this is kind of like a trust where, at the least, what you could do is set it up so that it drips to you or drips to them in such a way that it's not fully accessible without some thought, you know. And so those types of things, I think a lot of us, you hear it like, I'm not going to lock my stuff up. I don't need that, right? But it's really about like a delayed gratification, self improvement kind of thing, right? You got to really decide you want to do this, right? Nobody's forcing you to do it. It's you deciding you're going to lock your stuff up. And I think actually, you got those two different kind of models or campaigns or ideas. One is probably more suited for Hex, but or our Hex community. The other, man, is wide open. It's like any
Yeah. And
any token anywhere.
yes, yes. And that is a big deal. And at first I worried a little bit like, what if we give people this superpower to time lock things other than HEX? Well, there's already time locking contracts out there for other things. The real thing that I'll focus on myself is that if people are going to lock things up, really part of the process of that, if you're doing it responsibly, is that you think really hard about what you're in and why. And I think when people are trading, sometimes they don't even have a long-term thesis. They just care about the short term. It's a game to them. It's not something more than a game. It's a negative sum game at that. It's you're trading against the person on the other side of the screen because somebody has to lose in trading. But in other systems, I believe in HEX is it's a positive sum game because of the behavior change, because the fact that technology in the future is better and cheap, things get cheaper over time if you adjust for inflation. And so waiting, the process of waiting and storing value over time, I think is a net positive game for the world. So that I think it makes a difference whether people can time lock or not. And we can go to the so I almost did this with Richard. Like I had prepared a lot. I had written a lot of notes. So I almost asked him to like role play with me, and he would be an Ethereum maxi that never wants to get into HEX, and I would be somebody trying to like, explain to him how cool Smart Vault is, that he could secure his Ethereum against a hacker, and start to kind of nudge the idea of, well, also when you have stuff time locked, you save yourself from yourself. Because you're not having constant access to be able to trade it, and you're not just one, even these crypto articles. I used to read crypto articles, and they're like full of lies. They like try to manipulate people into buying and selling, and I mean, it's stuff like that. I mean, on one hand, people would call time locking is a scam because then everybody can dump on your head. But that's a silly argument, because if you're time locking, it's because you don't want to play the short-term game. You want to play the long-term game.
I think it's an actual test. It's an actual test whether the person sees the long term or not.
And as you guys know, with HEX, setting up a staking ladder, it's a pretty manual process. With stake wrap, apparently it can be done in like a batch transaction, so it'll still cost the same amount of gas, but it'll get bundled together, so maybe it's a little bit less gas, but it's like there's a way to do it there more conveniently. Another way to think of time pays me is that you can create basically a weekly ladder without any extra gas fees if you're like dripping deci to yourself. Because basically if I time lock for 10 years or 20 years, it's going to be continuously coming out based on the amount of time that I've served. So basically, like, if I want to get out 2% a week, then I'm time locking for a year.
Good.
So
Hey man, I'm a big proponent of delayed gratification myself. I mean, and I'm experiencing it now, man. I'm literally going through, like, I'm back in the gym, trying to do all that stuff, and every day
nice.
Yeah, every single day I'm reminding myself, dude, don't be a bitch, like, and go in there, because it's the long term. It's the long term. It's going to take some time, but you will see difference. And I don't think I would appreciate it if it was so instant. You know what I mean? I wouldn't appreciate it as much. So it's got to be, just a really rewarding feeling, coming up when some of these long-term stakes are coming out. You know what I mean? I'm excited to be a part of the community then, to like see what it looks like, man, to see where we at, because in the history of cryptocurrency, to my knowledge, nothing's ever been delayed this much, and so, hey man, we're on this ride for 15 years, so hey man, let's do it, but yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, and gosh, the liquidity in HEX right now is so low. It's a fool's errand to think what the price of HEX is going to be in the short term anyway.
Right.
I'm kind of waking myself up to that. Like, even though I think having some liquid is important for me personally, I prefer to have less liquid. Even if I'm doing shorter stakes all of a sudden, instead of just sticking with my yearly ones. Right. What are your guys' time locking strategies looking like?
I worked my way back, 15, all the way back to a certain time, that I personally think, I made the educated guess, and but I'm not worried about that. But yeah, I worked my way back from 15. That's what I did. So
nice. That's a good approach.
And to be honest with you guys, like I said, yeah, I was thankfully I was introduced the right way, but I was still, whenever I set up my staking ladder, it was a very, very beginner conversation, right? So and then I was able to replicate that with my own knowledge with bigger stacks, So it's awesome, man. I wish I could fast forward 15 years, just see where we're at. But
yeah, me too. Me too. Well, we do have 3 years. You can see this thing operating already, and
yeah.
And what actually has come from staking. And I think all that information is really good information, to be able to kind of compare what we think will happen. But yeah, I wish I could go 12 years into the future. How about that? Yeah, go see what's going to happen. For my stakes,
what's the first statistic that you would look at?
What, in the future?
If you went 12 years into the future, what's the first number you're looking at?
I want to know what the price is.
The T-share price?
No, I'm gonna want. I'll probably
dollars.
I'm gonna probably look at the price first, right?
Oh,
Then
wow.
I would look at the T-share rate.
Yeah. I mean, if my stake ends, in 15 years in the future, bro, I hope the liquidity's there, which it will be. I believe it will be. But that's personally, I'll be.
Trevor's looking at the liquidity first. That's a good play.
I'm just saying.
And the price, I got to admit, see, the reason why the price is such a wild card is because ChrispyMan already has really good graphs charting out what we think the T-share rate's going to be in the future in HEX terms. So I guess, see, my first thought was the T-share price in HEX terms, because I was just looking, maybe it was Gold Key or somebody who posted that on the Maximus group stake, or whatever you want to call it, I think it would already be like the number of HEX that they've gotten in this short period of time, less than a year or something. They were posting that it would be 20%. It would take 20% more, or that, sorry, I'm like getting the statistic backwards, but basically, they have 20,000 more T-shares than they would if they redid it today with the same number of HEX. And so there's like a huge increase in the cost of a T-share in HEX terms, even from a year ago, let's say. And so it is going to be really wild to see. Like that's the thing maybe we don't talk enough about is how the T-share kind of operates in a way that simulates compounding interest. Compounding interest gets crazy pretty quick.
Dude, real fast. Real fast. Compounding.
The actual APY in HEX like isn't like a compound function itself, but like the idea that any exponential curve, and sorry, any like increasing rate becomes an exponential curve over time is like, that's, I think, a thing mathematically. ChrispyMan, go ahead and sorry to interrupt where you were going with your staking ladder, like what that looks like, or just what your strategy has been.
Oh, my staking ladder doesn't matter. I got, I just
Doesn't matter.
Well, not to anybody else, man. I started medium, then I went long, and then I went short. And everybody's different, and you'll hear different people talk about this. But because I've been involved for as long as I have been, I had to start making a decision about what makes me feel good. And what makes me feel good, for whatever reason, is every month having a stake come out. That I
Oh,
like.
nice.
For whatever reason, that's how I settled. And so that's what I do. Now, I've always been like 99% staked. And I'm just considering whether that's the right way to handle things or not. You hear a lot of people talk about keeping 10%, 20% liquid, right? So anyways, I mean, there's no wrong way to do this. And I do think sometimes we get kind of hung up on the maxi way to do it, right? Like the maxi way is, if I wanted to be 100% maxi, Trevor, man, I'm going to be like, I'm starting Quattro Cincos only, and I'm going to do it for the next 15 years, and I'm going to do it every month, right? But that doesn't necessarily fit everybody. And there's room also for us to be recruiting isn't the right word. I don't mean to make it shillish, but maybe there's room for people to understand that they can get, maybe some of these institutions and whatnot out there, they can get, 10% or 8% a year return on HEX in HEX by staking a year. Maybe there's room for that discussion. Maybe everything doesn't have to be so maximalist, but for us individuals, yeah, that's how we learned, right? Hey, here's a tidbit for you, since you're talking about that Maximus. Currently, I think that the new share rate that Maximus will create is 131,000 HEX per T-share.
At year 16 or whatever.
Yeah, when it's time for it to close, 131,000. But I think that's a low guess. I think it's low. And the reason I say that is we think, I don't know if you saw the charts we were messing around with in the power of the TShares, the power of TShares, right?
Oh, I saw it.
Yeah, when you see that, like, here's something silly. Like, I can sit here and be talking about this, but I don't think it really, until I saw it visually, I don't think it really settled into my head that there's such a difference in how much you lose by doing end-to-end serial stakes versus one stake, like Quattro Cinco. And then the other thing is, I don't know why I haven't been pinging on this more, but you see how even if a Quattro Cinco was started this year, by all predictions, the APY is gonna float up. That was
Yeah.
another thing. That was another thing that maybe there's just too many details for me to keep myself abreast of, right? But I just didn't, until I saw that, until we were working on that chart, which I haven't seen that chart anywhere else. That just kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, it's going to explode up because it is compounding away. Like, it's they always show you these graphs if you go to like a retirement seminar, and like they tell you, like, if you put in this amount of money every month, when you start out in your 20s, your 30s or 40s or 50s, and then like then they show you like basically the time value of money, like how long it has to be in earning a certain rate, 5%, 7%, whatever. And then
Yep.
it's always at the end that it just goes straight up. And the more time you put on, the more wild it gets. The only difference is in the HEX system, it shows you that up front with the number of TShares that you can get. But then, then the rest of the system kicks in, and there's these force multipliers potentially.
Yeah. Well, if I want to take the negative on this, I'd be like, oh man, that means all these people are going to get all this yield, and the system's going to be out of control. But then I think, wait a minute, if people know other people are getting high rates of return, then they're going to stake, so they get high rates of return, and the high rates of return will come down. So and then we hit on this a little bit in that session. So there should be some equalization as well, tending to go up. I think tending to go up over time. Because I mean, if all of a sudden, I mean, we've got, let's say we do have 100,000 stakers, and we know it's less because most people have multiple wallets, right? But let's just say you had 100,000. What does 200,000 do? Well, it's twice as much, right? Doesn't that mean if twice as many people are staking, that it wouldn't be exactly half, but a lot less yield? So it'll be another thing to watch, right, as we hit adoption. And then again, the people say, well, that's terrible because look, the APY is not, we hear this now. It's terrible. The APY is not 38%. Well, it is on average, right? But a new guy coming in isn't going to get 38% out the gate. They might get it after a couple of years. But in the real world, outside of crypto, man, anything north of 4% is pretty damn good. So there's a band,
It really depends on like how strong-handed like people get. If people in HEX, if they keep dumping, then that creates more opportunity. But if they stop selling, then the price is whatever people are willing to pay. And it's like, no matter what you pay, you're still going to get paid in HEX a certain percentage APY. And so I think it's like HEX, like delaying gratification and what HEX pays is like can be worth so much more in HEX terms than we think it can. And the price volatility can be so like unthinkable.
Yeah, that's the part that kind of during when I first found out about HEX, buddy sat me down and started showing the numbers, and that's like the first thing I was like, wait, there's no way. And then the numbers add up. I'm a numbers guy. I love Excel. I love all that stuff, and I live in it all day long. When I started doing my own research, I was like, this is insanity. And so I was like, I'm going to throw it out 5, 5, 5, 5, and so the compound interest really is incredible in HEX, and that was one of the key points that got me onboarded actually, because I value compound interest. That's that's how I pay my in real life bills. I mean, is that idea of compounding your interest. So, but yeah, man, it really is a wonder of the world. That's for sure.
So do you have a lot of 555 or like a Quattro Cincos or?
Like I said, I worked my way back.
You worked your way back.
Yeah, I worked my way back. But then, I mean, don't get me wrong, my shit is like not perfect or anything like that. But I did stick. I threw a good chunk of cash out, like to that 7-8 year range. Just because I knew I knew that I was thinking of my life. Like I'm in my mid 30s. I'm like, I feel comfortable with that. Like 7 years, that would be good. Plenty of time for me to be in my mid 40s and go, oh shit, So yeah. For me, between 7 and 15 years, I think for my age bracket, I had to really. That's one thing not a lot of people really talk about. Everybody's like, throw it out 15, bro. Half y'all, not half, but you just think about your situation. It's very important. If you have like your family situation, right? Or what you predict could possibly happen, or for all these different things. And for me, it was important to have at least some heavy stakes that I did that are going to come out in about 7 years. For me, that was kind of the sweet spot, the halfway point where I can check on everything and make sure that I'm good, and then focus on the next 7. So,
do you guys want to see my ladder?
I'm sure it is probably just out of control, or is it just like all 5 5 5s?
Is it aluminum or what?
I can show you. Yeah, I can show you the.
I prefer wood.
That's my ladder.
All right.
So each bar is a year. So it's pretty much like, I guess for people listening at home, like I put 15 years, pretty much the same amount. And then I built up years 9 and 10 and years 13, 14, and 15. I stacked those higher. So that just seemed right to me at the time. Like, delay gratification, because the price of a t-shirt goes up every year so much that actually doing like a medium length stake is pretty costly if you're going to be repurchasing. And if I could change anything here, I probably would have actually I would have established my ladder, and then I would have put more at the end, because I plan on doing multiple cycles of HEX because I'm so young, in my mid 30s. And so it just, that there's this huge cost to rebuying TShares after more people have pushed up the price after you. And so like in Big Payday, we actually had to end some short stakes early, that you have to be really careful about doing that. And I'm not sure that you would do it today, but that was interesting to see, like, at least short stakes that were like a year long, to have a reason to end those, 80% of the way or 90% of the way, and give up so much, but also to see like that there would be more return. So
yeah, I think on the whole emergency end stake thing, since you mentioned it now, it looks pretty bad in terms of your return on investment if you were to do emergency end stakes. So you should always go look and make sure you understand
more than
before
one
you do
place.
anything. Yeah, because there's probably some edge cases, where if you have a very long time horizon, that it might make sense to you to do it. And I say that because you can see some of the stakes that if you were to end them now, what their yield would be, and how many TShares you're going to get if you were to restake what you got back after the penalty. And so if it's worth it to you to lock in for a longer period, then yeah, maybe it would make sense. But I think it's by far the exception, not the rule. Right. They're not trying to encourage people to go running around emergency end state.
Yeah. That'd
know.
be bad.
So
usually.
I guess that's my point with that.
I think in this is a weird take, but in the history of HEX, how early everyone is, this topic of the maxis doing it this way and someone else doing it this way. If I really project myself into the future, like just in life, I kind of envision when there is just mass adoption for HEX. I think the narrative, because here's the thing, it's not just going to be us little Hexicans in our little community forever. This thing's going to go, it's highly likely that it's going to do very, very well in the next 10 years. And I think it's going to be interesting, dude, to see the narrative shift over to, I can just kind of see it, man. You see like 20 and 30-year-old people, just like, how much you used to, what are you doing? It's more of a positive. It's like, we've already accepted HEX. Like HEX is here to stay. So now the game theory becomes a positive thing. What are you doing? What are you doing? Because right now the community is so small that sometimes we're in this echo chamber where we seem to tell somebody, well, this is what I have and it's going to work for me, dude. You do you. But I think that we have to remember that there's different trends and different narratives. And as things progress and as things mature and as there's clarity to things, as over time, all this shit, the narrative switches. And we've seen that whether it be outrage marketing, price appreciation, T-share value. I mean, I could sit here and just name them all off. In time, they always prove themselves faithful. And so that's what makes me bullish on the fact that the sentiment of HEX is going to be in a whole different game when it is actually simplified for the common man within the next 15 years.
Well, and there are ways in which diversity, it can be a huge strength. Like if people are doing lots of different strategies that are right for them, and there's lots of, different time horizons in the mix, that's a positive thing. If the diversity is like, let's see how many things can vampire attack HEX, then that's a bad form of diversity. But I think, like by sharing my staking ladder, I didn't, I do not mean to imply, and I'm glad, I can just say clearly that it doesn't mean it's right for you to do it the way I did. And it's, it's gonna be different for everybody.
Maddie, if you don't mind kind of talking on this subject, I see a comment down here that says, okay, but how do you counter these big whales doing short stakes constantly? That's the issue I have with this coin. That's a valid question. That's a valid question. ChrispyMan and Maddie, I'll let you guys take that. You guys have more experience to answer that than myself.
So how much do we think is actually being short staked?
There we go.
You've told us, and I have it in my head, but
let me pull this up. I'll pull something up.
It's like 2 billion, isn't it?
Perfect.
Yeah. It's and it varies. I mean, people doing stuff all the time. Let me pull up a document real quick.
Great question, by the way.
Yeah, awesome question, man. I saw it. I was like, that's a really good question.
Yeah. Because it could seem like, people who are taking just such a short-term perspective, who got HEX so cheap early on, that they're gaming the system by doing short stakes. And but let's break down the numbers and actually see what the cost is and how that compares to the liquidity and how that plays out in the game theory. Let's break it down right now.
All right. Can I share? Is that okay?
Please.
Gotta get over to the right screen.
While he's doing that, I guess I see another comment. How come we never hear from the developers? If you're on Twitter recently,
security.
Well, I was thinking more PulseChain myself. Answering that from a PulseChain perspective, I was like, oh, the PulseChain devs are on Twitter, but that's exactly right, Mike.
Yeah, like developers, they can be poached by people off bribing them to, you know, to leave the project, they can have their physical safety threatened. And so it's an important thing, you know, that they have the privacy and the non-disclosure agreements that they're willing to do. And like, you know, you could see on the GitLab, apparently, because people have been swarming around that, the social media broadcasters have been, you know, letting you know every time they see a developer log into the GitLab and change something, or like, even if they like open a file, it like it reports that they're doing something.
I will say that's all we need. And we need the cheerleaders. We need the positivity. It's important, you know. But I'm with you, man. Every like, oh my God, is there something going on? It's launching in 5 seconds.
So they are there, and they are writing code, and they are updating. But it's a good thing that there is some privacy.
Yeah, ChrispyMan, you got it up. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I do have a slide up there. So as of the end of the year, which is good enough for what we're talking about a little less than 20% of all the HEX staked was less than 1 year. So that's what we're talking about. We talk about these short stakes, and then right above that we get another 12%, 1 to 3 years. You guys can read the chart, but you know what's interesting about this, right? Is you know, 5 to 15 is pretty good amount of HEX, right? So over 50% of the HEX that's staked is out that far. And when you look at TShares, it's even more interesting because you know, TShares are slanted into the future pretty good. So yes, we do have a group of people who are doing short staking, and I don't know why people feel, and I have to think about it a little bit more, why they feel like that's negative. It's certainly negative for the stakers, because we proved that, right? I mean, they're just gonna dwindle, their power dwindles over time. So in the near term, yes, they can do short stakes and make yield, but over time they lose the power of their T-share.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, yeah, and that's where it comes down to as well. Like, you know, the APY in HEX, it could be 3,000%. You could get 3,000% more coins every day. But what would matter would be the T-share rate and how much the coins are worth in dollars to most people. And those are two completely separate questions. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd be curious to see like how does the amount of short stakes, or specifically the amount of interest that gets sold from, or the yield that's sold from short stakes, how does that compare to the liquidity itself? We know that the liquidity right now in HEX is pretty low, which is a sign of like constant buy pressure. Is like there's, you know, $1.5 million worth of USDC sitting there, like, you know, holding the price where it is. I wonder how much HEX is being generated by those short stakes, and how much of it is being sold.
Right.
I think it's also I think I jumped ahead of you, Crispy. I'm sorry about that. But I think it's also important to remember we're throwing this into the future. So do you really think that there's going to be like $1 million in liquidity in the future? You know what I mean?
No, there was $30 million before.
It's like, it's a loaded question. And, you know, so for people being like, oh, what about these people dumping on, but you just looked at the math, and the math said you're going to have a lot by 15. So are you just going to dump? I mean, everything is there. You know, it's literally structured to, as this thing grows with adoption, you know, there's natural liquidity increasing. And that's you know, that should encourage everybody who's throwing their stuff out in the future, right? So
I mean, you know, short stakes seem like they get to have their cake and eat it too. But I mean, remember at the end of the day, like if they sell their HEX, then they're out. And, you know, and the APY is not outrageous in my opinion, because it's like 10% a year or 12%, somewhere in there, 10 to 12% a year. And so, so while there, you know, while there might be, what is that? So of 2 billion, that's what, that's 200 million HEX that would be sold. You know, so however many millions of dollars that is. I think that, you know, even if the price of HEX goes down, the people who are playing the long-term game will keep playing the long-term game. Or if it runs out that there's HEX to be sold, and or starts to, then the price will rocket up, especially with low liquidity.
And one thing that happens is over time, you know, adoption happens. So for example, we're all focused right now on us and the 15 years from now. Well, what about these people who are doing stakes for their family members or a child, right? That might be like 3-4 years old right now. And then in 10 years or 20 years, when that stake matures, and say that child is now a teenager, right? And 18 years old, right? And they've already been taught how delayed gratification works and the importance of it, because they're going to reap the reward, maybe, for example, from a parent or something like that set up a stake for a family member or a child. Now, once when you really think about it, I would imagine that person is going to see that stake and go, oh my gosh, I got to throw it out. And I don't want to do a month stake. This is dumb. Like that the person that either receives that stake or realizes the value of it, they're in the importance of going out longer than just a couple months or something like that. You know, it's going to be awesome.
All right. Are you guys ready for this? Quick math, right? Because we said if there's 2 billion HEX being short-term staked, and if that's earning 10% APY, that's 200 million HEX. And then if HEX is at the price it is right now, which is 2.1 cents, then that means that if you were to sell all of that 200 million HEX in a year, it would be $4.2 million. Okay. And you know what the volume at HEX was today? Almost double that. So, you know, that there's the math right there. You can check it yourself on the blockchain. You can check it, you know, on hexfire.io, on nomics.com. You know, check my math and see. And Johnny, I sent you the link, so that'll be exciting to have you jump on here. So that, I mean, that's really bullish. I mean,
yeah.
You know, somebody should tweet that or something.
Literally, like, that's good shit, dude. Like, come on. Math is sick. Numbers are fucking dope, dude. And when you really dive into this thing, it's incredible. So I'm looking at some of these comments. Yeah. Oh, there's Johnny. Hey, what's up?
How much is wash trading though? That's a great question. Always be skeptical of the crypto market. On nomics.com, HEX has a 97% transparent volume rating, which means they're actually tracking all the different decentralized exchanges that it's trading on, and they're saying that it doesn't look like the type of wash trading that happens on other things. Let's go to see Binance coin itself. BUSD only has an 81% transparency rating, and let's look at number 6. XRP has a 24% transparent volume rating. And so that means it's not trading on decentralized exchanges. And so you can't actually see who's buying, who's selling, what they're buying and selling for, what else they hold. You know, so that, how fascinating is that?
That is
very fascinating. Well, the other thing too, I know I think it's important in this case, it could be a little more exact, right? We throw the percentages around too. the short stakers, they're getting closer to 9% now, in terms of APY equivalent. And so that's down quite a bit from what we used to use the older thumb rules. And so they really can't depend, like a 1 month stake can't really depend on more than around 9.3% or so at the moment. Now I guess that could change, right, with a lot more staking or a lot less staking. But they definitely get eaten into, right? Because every time they restake, they're subject to whatever the new rate is. And the TShare rate's going up about, be anywhere between 15-20% per year, maybe a little bit more. So, the next year they can't make as much. And so how do you beat that? Well, either now it's okay. Let's think of it this way. If you're that person, maybe this is your exit strategy and you're exiting. Okay. Well, when you're done, if that takes however long that takes to do it, you're just out, right? Because you've skimmed all that you're going to skim and you're done, right? Or you're doing whatever. But if you're looking to beat that person at the game, which is to get more hex than they get, you just stake longer than them, right? And so, yeah, and this is where that whole argument starts coming about ladders, because like we're talking about, 9%. I can get a monthly at 9% right now, but equivalent APY. But why wouldn't I do one for a year, one for 12, 13 months, 14 months, 18 months, and get closer to 12% APY on that? Anyways, but I think the ladder beats that.
Yeah, we want those people to get out of the system by selling, and then they can't get the same percent the next year because the TShare rate went up. That's a great point. Johnny Chaos in the house. Welcome.
There he is, dude. There he is. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, so we've got different players that act in different ways in HEX, and HEX is a self-balancing system. And you need to keep in mind strongly, 100% of all Bitcoin is sold by miners to pay power bills. Not just 2 billion out of a 652 billion supply. We're talking about every time a new coin comes on the market, they have to sell it for power bills. So what if there's 2 billion hex that are printing every month? Okay, yes, that is sell pressure, but how long does that sell pressure last? I mean, the only reason why it's affecting us or impacting us or worrying anybody is because nobody's buying right now in the middle of the bear market. That's why that looks like that's a problem. But that's so easily important. Keep in mind, when HEX launched, you were talking about 500 million HEX were released per day. 500 million HEX were released per day. Okay? You're talking about 2 billion. That is 4 days worth of the adoption amplifier. That's what that is. Okay? They cannot indefinitely hold the price down as we begin to grow. Okay? The other thing is, as HEX appreciates, people are not going to hold as much. There's a reason why nobody holds 1 million Bitcoin. Why don't they hold 1 million Bitcoin? At some point in time, it's going to be very rare for people to hold 1 million HEX. Believe it or not. At some point, that's going to be a rare thing. Not as rare as Bitcoin because there's a much higher supply, but it comes to a point of how much do you really need, right? So if the price goes up and they're printing this much, per day, they're eventually going to start dropping some of those coins because they're not going to need as many coins to restake to make the same kind of balances, right? So inevitably the system is self-balancing, but I get it. People look at things and they're not in that position, so they don't understand that position. But this is just typical miner behavior. That's exactly what miners do. They run the code, they sell their profit, and they do it again. So that is coins that are not being immediately distributed on the market, because if they were, that would drop the price drastically, right? So they're using it a way, initially when I looked at HEX, I thought, this was the way, to stake for a month, pull out your whatever it's worth, right? And just sell it on the market. But unfortunately, the design of HEX is going to make these people, if the price doesn't go up, it's going to make these people have to push out their stake length longer and longer and longer to maintain if the price doesn't go up. If the price does go up, they're going to be in a position, we can maintain. We're comfortable with this level. Why don't we let a few of these coins go on the market? So self-balancing system.
And thanks to Oswood for the 5.55 super chat. To hold 17K BTC is $462 million worth of sell pressure a day. Is it a day? Oh, maybe volume, you're saying. And HEX doesn't need to be sold. BTC does for electricity. Thank you. And good point. It's like Johnny said, it's a self-balancing system. And there might be a day before I die, hopefully not in a car accident, but just of like longevity and boredom and stuff, or whatever. But there might be a day when the origin address can't even buy 1 million TShares.
Well,
I mean,
buying 1 million,
because that's how it goes.
1 million TShares is a different animal too, and that's the thing, right? So,
well,
over time,
TShares are already greater than Bitcoin.
Yeah, if you're selling your yield, right, you're not adding your yield to your stake. What happens? Well, you're progressively getting less and less coins because you're getting less and less TShares. So all you're doing is running up that TShare rate.
Crispy made a tool. I'm not sure if it's public yet, but he made a tool to be able to track yourself if you rebought your TShares or not. And I know that made me, it made an honest staker out of me. And it made me rebuy my TShares after I'd been sitting on some liquid HEX for like 6 months after my birthday. Crispy, do you know what I'm talking about?
You talk about the calculation for restaking days.
I'm talking about just like it was tracking my wallet that I put in to be able to see like what animal I was over time.
Oh yeah.
Is that public?
The leagues, yeah, that's up there.
Could we show people that?
Yeah, sure.
That'd be really cool.
Always a work in progress.
It actually takes about 2 years in HEX for people to realize the power of the TShares. You're not going to believe it until you have a stake that's 2 years old that you end, and then you really get that's when the light bulb goes off for most people. They go, oh, wait, I'm not getting as much TShares anymore. That doesn't make sense, because the TShare rate doubles, okay, doubles in HEX terms every 2.5 years. That's how it's scheduled out, is every 2.5 years. So we started at 10,000. We're now at like 25,000 something. Okay. And then 2.5 years from now, it will be 50,000 HEX for 1 TShare. Now, if HEX is $1, 2.5 years from now, just $1. That's $50,000 for that TShare. Insane when you think about it, right?
It's the TShares that are going to become way more expensive, whether the HEX becomes more expensive or not. HEX
can stay at the same exact price and TShares still get more expensive. And you don't really learn that until like 2 years in, and you're like, wow. This sucks. Wait, I want my TShares back. I'm earning half of what I used to. So 2.5 years later, people that are staking and restaking, they get a halvening. They get a halvening of their rate by trying that miner. Instead of a 4-year halvening, they get a 2.5-year halvening.
It sounds like Moore's Law or something.
Yeah, that is wild to think about like that. Just that idea of it happening every 2.5.
Yeah. So there's basically, for short-term stakers that are behaving like miners, they have a halvening every 2.5 years instead of every 4 years. And there's only a small fraction of people that are using the short-term staking mechanism. And look, okay, here's the other thing you got to understand about Bitcoin. Two companies run all the hash rate in Bitcoin. Everything else is just obscure. Two companies control all the hash rate. They get all of the new coins. You got
Bad
to work out
Bitmain.
one whale that has 2 billion hex. Let him do his thing. Let him swim in the ocean, man. He's going to get a halving every 2.5 years.
They made me send them Bitcoin Cash.
Who made you send them Bitcoin Cash?
Bitmain, when I was buying Bitcoin miners and selling them on eBay back in 2017 or whatever. They picked the wrong side. They had to fire their CEO because he was losing them billions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, so the other thing is, keep in mind, this is ideal for miners. Hex is ideal for miners. They have no upfront equipment cost. They can always sell their position and get some money back. You ain't selling your miners. You ain't getting no more money back out of those. Those are obsolete. You start at a net negative when you buy that mining equipment. You start at a net negative because you have to pay your power bill till you're in profit. If you start in Hex immediately, you are immediately producing coins that can be sold on the market. No overhead.
And your TShares are your miners in the system. And what ChrispyMan is going to show, I can't believe we haven't shown it before. And it's like, again, it's another one of the aha moments that I got. I don't know, Crispy, if we can just pull up like a random shark and we could see like the process of them becoming a shark, and then whether they stayed a shark, or maybe they were a whale and then they dropped down to a shark, or
hey, we got Maddie, we got a troll.
Yeah, one of the tools here is it's really cool. What does the troll have to say, Johnny?
We got a troll. 75% drop is nowhere near a 95% drop. That's very misleading. You know what also is misleading? Measuring from the top down. Okay? Because Bitcoin did not do a 10,000x before it dropped 75%. So go back and check your math, buddy, because people that are in Hex that were in from the very beginning are still up over 100x because we didn't pump a weak ass little 9x.
And I'll say something nice to the troll too. Like, we got some new information on Richard last night that we've never heard before. He admitted he did not buy the bottom of Bitcoin when he bought in at $30 and it dropped down to $2. He said that he didn't, and he wished he did. And so if you're somebody who bought the top of Hex, you time locked it because you're not a trader and because you had the right idea going into it. Or if you're somebody who's just held this long anyway, either way, you don't have to be like somebody who's buying the dip. I mean, you could be like Richard, who would in the future regret, not, or I mean, either way, like nobody knows what the price of Hex is going to do in the future. There are some things we know about TShares though, and it's provable. It's provable through a smart contract. ChrispyMan, let me put your screen on here again.
Sure.
Here we go. Yes, this is what I was talking about. Yeah,
this isn't quite public out there, but it gives you an idea of what we were working on. I'm working on this little side project with Kodiak. The dev, and the idea is to kind of take a look at an address and see when they're moving back and forth, swimming through the ocean, as we say. And so we know, because a lot of us are really, some people.
This is a wild one.
Yeah, some people a little bit too concerned, but but we're all curious, right? So this guy was born a shark.
Wow,
and then you can kind of see.
That's hard to imagine on day 519, no less.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And then just how they swam through, staking and all the rest. It's a little difficult.
That's a trader right there.
It could be. It could be, but the TShares. So.
Oh, just a short staker then?
Yeah, I mean, we can actually go look at the staking that they did, but the only reason they would have TShares is if they staked. So it could be short staking. I didn't put all that
Yeah, because I see
information on
some
the
spots where
screen.
it says they're no longer a staker, and then they become a staker again, no longer a staker, then they become a staker again.
Yeah.
So we can actually build a pretty interesting profile of this address just by seeing how they go through their staking behavior over time.
Yeah, and you can clearly see that the TShares drop over time that they have in there, and this is only one little piece of time, right? And I don't have all the goes ins and goes outs to tell you, did they sell or didn't they sell or anything. But positionally, right, they started as a super shark. I think they ended as a super shark, right? Just with maybe a couple thousand less T-shares.
Mm.
And it's
See,
important to know we
yeah.
need those new coins on the market. We need those new coins to become part of the supply, okay? Because that 3.69% is multiplied by existing supply. So you need short termers to generate more coins so that we can get higher payouts per day because the supply progressively inflates 3.69%, right? So you get 3.69% of current, then the following year you get 3.69 on top of that, and then 3.69 on top of that. And progressively, that's what increases the payout per day per T share because the supply itself has to inflate. If you stake, that defers the inflation out into the future. And that inflation not coming into existence does not allow that payout per day per T-share to increase. So short-term stakers do create value by creating an addition to the supply so that when that 3.69% is multiplied by existing supply, we get an increase in payout per day per T-share, which is progressive.
Right. And I think, hey, Johnny, I think a lot of people, because the terminology gets thrown around a lot, so people get screwed up. I don't think people understand that when you say 369, the 3.69%, again, supply, that it is circulating supply plus locked hearts or staked hex. That is what's getting multiplied. And if that doesn't change, the payouts don't go up per T-share, right? And the only way it changes, and this is exactly your point, is by somebody ending a stake, right? Because and that's where we came up this weird terminology, maybe, but minted, user minted, newly, or total minted, user minted hex, because until it becomes part of the supply, there's no inflation.
Yeah, so good accounting actually checks that out of the supply. So a lot of this stuff that's been good accounted, the coins have not been minted. So the coins are not part of that supply that gets that 3.69%. Those have been removed. So that's why I really don't like good accounting, because it actually just puts that shit in limbo and we're not actually getting the gains from it. Mm-hmm. And the 3.69%, everyone's like, oh, you guys are getting 30%. But actually the inflation is like 1% increase per supply per year. It's like just a little over 1% because people are staking. And the OA plays a key factor in this too, because you have to have supply that is unstaked. So you can have a supply to multiply that 3.69% by, if you stake it all and you burn it all, it's there's a lot to it that people just don't grasp. And it's such a beautiful system. There is nothing freaking like this. Nothing. It's insane. But people either don't understand or they don't take the time to understand how beautiful this code was developed and built.
ChrispyMan, do we have another example we can show of like somebody who just really doesn't have the same number of T-shares that they did in the past using this cool tool?
We're kind of I don't know.
I mean, can you randomly pull a dolphin or anything, or is it
I think, well, yeah, I can, but I think it's kind of shooting in the wind here, right?
Crispy, you keep finding new stuff to point out, which I think is great, because It's like, you know, this thing really is, the deeper you dig, the more you find.
Here's
You
a
know,
crab. Did
it's
they?
amazing.
They didn't start as a crab. They started as a shy shrimp. That was probably a test stake that they did back in June of 2021. So they probably, you know, like they were coming in right around the time we had the first HEX meetup, and then became a cool crab by getting at least one T-share, and they've been building their T-shares up, becoming a bigger and bigger crab all the way. Seems like dollar cost averaging in monthly, weekly, randomly, getting from one T-share to 9. That's
Yeah,
cool.
we probably have to dig into that one a little bit more, right, to figure it out. But yeah. Hey, thanks for the good words, Johnny. I appreciate it.
Oh, I think you've done a great job on all this. You know, I mean, it's it's visual to allow people to see all these mechanisms in the system, because it's really, really difficult to explain. You know, even trying to talk about, you know, like I said, you know, that halvening that technically happens for the short-term stakers. You basically have that halvening. How do we express that to people to really understand the impact and what that really means?
Yeah, it's the value of a T-share. I mean, you know, Abid and Patrick, they did a talk about it, and yeah, really, the more we can get Richard talking about T-shares, the more we can talk about T-shares ourselves and build cool ways to visualize things.
Yeah, this is
The better.
amazing, man. I'm just sitting here watching, dude. Do you have plans to make this a full-scale application for other users to interact with?
Yeah, we have I have the Hexfire site up so that people can go there and play with it. I haven't taken this visual yet and put it out there because it needs some more work.
Yeah. Okay. Well, definitely let us know when you do, man. I mean, that's what I was asking in regards to. This is awesome. You have your search, your overview, and then your simple table view. I'm a tech nerd, and this is rad, dude. This is really cool.
So yeah, and I could go through and I could plug in, I think on here, multiple addresses that I have, you know, of my own, or maybe an onboard or something, and I can see like,
yeah,
oh,
it'll combine them. Yeah, if you
yeah,
put it in there and kind of give you an idea. Now these are unrelated probably addresses. I just picked some, but yeah, to show you what you were asking about or
yeah,
talking about.
yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
see
So
how
I
they go.
mean, this is where I saw the cold hard truth that I hadn't rebought my T-shirts as I had planned to, and that, you know, that's what finally made me say like, all right, well, here we go again.
You know
Here's
what I miss?
another big chunk of money to me that I'm paying my future self, and like,
You know what I miss, Maddie? I miss what Steph had with Hex.live. I miss
mm,
the ability to just drop any address in and see
yeah.
where all their stakes end. See, you know, be able to really examine that one address. I miss that,
Now,
but that tool was really misused. That's why
now
Steph really took it down.
there's a way you can use my front end. The probably where most people would like turn back is that it actually, to use go.tshare.app, you have to have it linked up to MetaMask. Like, we just made the design decision, like probably a less popular thing to do, but like, so whether you have MetaMask on your phone and you don't have any stakes, you don't have any crypto in it, it's just like, you just have to connect to it's read only, go.tshare.app. And then what you can do is you can use the URL go.tshare.app /?account equals, and then you put the address, and it'll show you exactly what is in that wallet,
Oh,
and you know how it looks, and you can do it from the web. And you know, I can give you an example of that even right here.
because it used to be really nice, because I mean you could really Silver used it a lot because it was really easy to really deep dive into the addresses without a lot of footwork. But that was part of the problem, was the fact that it made us a little bit too transparent. People were getting named. You know, it was really, you know, you're really able to put people under a magnifying glass because we had that level of transparency in Hex that like, you know, you're literally looking in everybody's window with it. It's you know, it's that bad.
It's this freaking lurker.
Yeah, I mean, you can totally like see what everybody's doing, you know, and
So good. But hey, guys, I'm gonna have to hop off here because I've got some stuff I gotta handle that was already
For
scheduled.
sure.
But hey, man, I will finish it with this, guys. Thank you for having me on here, and I know I'm not some OG or whatever, but I genuinely appreciate you guys welcoming me into the crew. And
you are too. You're one of us, dude.
Hey, man, I am now, whether you like it or not. But no, dude, it was a killer stream. Let's do it again, Johnny. It's good to see you, man. We haven't heard from you in a while, man. It's just good to hear from you. If you guys need anything, holler at me. But I'll, other than my stupid ass Twitter rants, if y'all need anything, holler at me. So,
awesome.
All
Yeah,
right,
thanks for being on, Trevor.
Man. You got my number also, so you know.
Oh, I got your number. Honestly, dude, look, just whatever. I was just glad when you hopped on. I was like, hell yeah, Johnny vapes, so I don't look like total douchebag right now. Like,
I got my nicotine addiction like everybody else, man. I gave up this moment, but...
Me too, buddy. Me too, man. Well, hey, guys, it was a freaking pleasure. Let's do it again, all right?
All right,
yeah,
Trevor.
Sounds good.
Nice talking to you.
Right. Hey, you too. And hey, Crispy, thank you for everything you're doing here, man. This is incredible stuff.
Buddy.
Keep going, man. I'll talk to you guys soon, all right?
Take
care,
all right, Trevor.
Peace.
All right, peace.
Trevor's a riot, man. I like him.
Yeah.
Good dude.
I'm gonna share my screen here real quick. And here's go.tshare.app, and then my donation address, which actually has some hex staked in there. And yeah, we can see like under active stakes, it gives a summary of how many TShares there are, how much hex was staked. And then each of these panels can be opened up. So here's for each stake, there's going to be a panel like this. And then you can toggle by clicking to change the units into hex terms. And so it's a rough estimate only, but it'll tell you what the penalty would be if you emergency end stake, and shows you the progress of the stake. And you can look in other people's wallets that way. So,
well, the thing I liked was like, you know, the graph that showed when the stakes were ending and everything, and you could actually visually see where the stakes were ending that hex.live used to have. And
oh yeah, you can do that on go.tshare. It's stakehex.today.
Stakehex.today, and just drop in the addresses, and that works too.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. You know, and the funny thing is, right? We have all these tools, but in all truth, do we really need them? Yeah, we start to get into this where we start to overthink things. You know, hex is like freaking 2 cents right now. You know, it's like we're barely started here. We're barely freaking started here, and everyone's paranoid what this whale's going to do or what that whale's going to do. Dude, let them sell, let them go. The best thing for us is for more people to come in and for that to be more decentralized, and you have less people with larger money that they don't know how to manage properly. And you're going to get this over and over again. People in large positions, when those large positions start to become more valuable, people are going to tap out. That's how that natural distribution happens, because you come to a point where you go, well, how much do I really need? You know, you justify to yourself. You say, I don't really need that much. I can sell this much. I'll be okay with this much. Let me just go ahead and release some of those coins into circulation, and let me just go ahead and reduce my position. I'll be okay with this much. And that's what happens. You justify it. Go ahead, Crispy. Don't let me cut you off, man. I just get on tangents.
So we got a giveaway to do tonight, and it's from a young woman who wants to give away some NFTs that are Hex and Pulse related, and I think she's been a familiar face in the Hex community, and so that's why I wanted to go ahead and help her to do that. So I'm not sure how to pronounce it though. I'm sorry about that. ARUHARTS.eth. it looks like she's been doing this like consistently, painting hex and PulseChain type stuff. So you could see her here with the 2 NFT pieces that she did that are part of this collection. And then if you can see on my screen that changed there, she went ahead and sent them to my address, maddie.eth. So if people want, let me see, I'll set up the giveaway tool here, and that'll take me just a second while you guys are weighing in.
I like the colors. I guess I better like the colors.
You better get used to them.
I get used to these.
Let me see. We're live. So let's do hashtag hex, and I've started collecting comments. So if you want to enter for this, you can do hashtag hex, and then you would qualify for the giveaway or whatever this is. Yeah, go ahead and do hashtag hex, and that'll enter you into the giveaway for the NFTs.
All right.
It's funny, Manny, because people forget nobody bought SHIB or Doge because of the tech. Nobody bought them because they're very interesting and developed coins. They bought them because they had visibility, availability, and accessibility. That's why they bought them, because they were mass listed on exchanges, thrown in front of everybody's face, and people just kept seeing them everywhere. And that power of recognition, I mean, it's the same thing like candidates do, right? You know, they put their signs in people's yards so that even if you don't know who they are, you go to look at that list when you go to vote and go, oh, I don't know who to vote for here. Oh, wait, I saw that sign. Let me check this box. And you know what? It works. It works. Yeah. And that's what really happens when you have a visibility and accessibility that you don't have to go through these extra steps. People just click what they keep seeing pop up in their head. You know, that's why Google ads, you'll be talking about dog food and it'll show up on your ads. Why? Because, you know, they're putting the market right in front of you, you know. They're taking advantage of that. When you go to the store, you'll be like, hey, I recognize that brand of dog food. Imagine that.
There you go. Yeah.
So the majority of people, as much effort as we make to try to break things down, like your viewership, of course, you know, people are here because they want that additional knowledge. They want to dig deeper. They want that information. They want the sites. They want those statistics. That fascinates them. But the majority of people that are going to buy Hex are going to buy the pretty picture.
Yeah.
I'm serious. That's what it's going to come to. Eventually, people are like, I heard of that thing. I like the logo. Click the buy button. And all this stuff that we're doing right now is not going to matter all that much to them. The majority of people.
Sounds good to me.
And that's fine.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, Johnny. That's usually how things work anyways. So in the kind of work that I do with the data and stuff, like it's not lost on me that most people are not interested at all in what I'm doing, but I'm not doing it for most people.
It's for
I'm
you.
doing it. Well, yeah, it starts with me.
For
Yeah,
you too.
Yeah. Well, it definitely starts with me, but I mean, it's for the whatever percent. Who knows? Maybe it's 10%, 5%, 1%. Doesn't matter. But there's a bunch of people that do want to see this kind of information, you know, and it's, you know, you go roll with it, right? But I think you're exactly right. What happens when I pull up any app? I open up any app today, man. You think the world was ending, or whatever you had just went to the moon, because I open up the app and it's nothing but a straight up green candle, or it's a straight down red candle, and the damn price changed, you know, 0.01%. Right? Why?
Yeah.
Why? The reason why is because they want a response, and they get it. They get it, right? So this is what they're doing with all these apps. and whatnot. But I think in the end of the day, you're right.
That's why it doesn't default to log scale. That's why it's always linear. It never defaults to log scale. Log scale should be default. You should have to select the linear, but instead they default it to, linear, because they just want to show you the most recent data. They don't want you to see the history. They don't want you to have an understanding. They just want to have you focus on that most recent data for that response, like you said.
Yeah, I want you to take an action right now. Take it now, which is pretty common, right? In selling, anyways, right? You're trying to force a call to action, and that's kind of your point. It's kind of backwards way, maybe getting all the way back around to it, but yeah, I mean, people are going to hear about whatever it is they're going to buy one way or another. They're going to see a picture of HEX or whatever, and all they care about is pushing a button. At some level, some people. And we're going to be trying as hard as possible to give them more information than that. But yeah.
And the problem is when the candles are green, that's when the buyers buy. When the candles are green, that's when everybody's got to hit the buy button.
That's the best advertisement.
Means go.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. That's what they're programmed to do. And no matter, people like to throw back at us, it's like, well, you guys shilled at the top. No. We've been shilling the whole time. You guys just happened to buy the top. You didn't want to listen to us when it was a penny. You didn't want to listen to it when it was sub-cent. No, you wanted to wait till the candles were green, and then you wanted to push the button. Now you're looking for somebody to blame. Well, what you've done is you've just extended your time frame. So now you got to wait for your turn for the price to go back up, because it will. But now you got to wait your turn because you didn't want to listen earlier.
Well, a lot of people also don't realize maybe that we were restaking and buying the whole way up. Not everybody. Not everybody, but a lot of people were. I mean, I did.
111 weeks straight here on this Tuesday night. Now, we can keep talking, but in the background, I'm going to do this giveaway. So the first one and the last one is going to be the more rare Pulse Waves one. And the 10 that I draw in the middle will be the HEX one that's also very beautiful. And so let's see, no guarantees. If I have enough ETH in my, my wallet, then I'll send them to you probably in the middle of the night whenever the fees are low. Basically you're going to message me on Twitter, your address if you won, and you have to tell me what your username was, and you have to be honest, and no expectations and all that good kind of stuff. But with that being said, let's go and pick our first winner for Pulse Waves. Oh, and you can make a separate address. Like you can make a brand new address in MetaMask, and that can help your privacy because this will be linked to the NFT. So the first winner is Captain Hoddle Baggins. Good job. And you won the Pulse Waves. And so you can DM me on Twitter, twitter.com/MattyAllin, MattiAllin. Now we're going to draw for a HEX one. There's going to be 10 people who get this. People are still entering by #HEX.
Matty Allen.
Crypto King.
Hey, Crypto King gets a goodie.
All right.
And then I'm just going to keep
Crispy,
pressing
by
the
the way,
button.
man, I wasn't trying to take away from anything by any means. I appreciate your work and what you do. And I love having those extra statistics. And I think it's great for people that want to dig deeper to have visual representation so that it's, easier for them to understand.
Oh, yeah, dude. I wasn't put off.
SCHIGGI. HEX one.
I just think we've got to separate, because we project that because we're interested in a certain aspect of something that we think everybody should be on our level. And the fact is there are some people that are never going to be on this level of understanding, and they don't care. It's okay. You don't have to know how to build an engine to drive a car.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's drivers all over the road, and a majority of them don't know. That's why they take their vehicle to a mechanic, right? And that's perfectly okay.
CI.
Never take something apart you can't put back together.
Right.
That was the advice my father gave me. But here's the thing: if you never take something apart that you can't put back
Never
together,
learn.
you don't learn that lesson.
Crypto King won again.
Yeah, me and my brother just took apart my little ATV that I had. We just got that back together, so that was a lot of fun. You got to tear it completely apart to get to the carburetor in it. And,
Mike E.
Yeah, that does actually sound like fun. I had the most fun, shaving the head. So
Let it go diet.
that was the most fun I ever had. Back when you could actually like pull the head out and go send it to a machine shop.
Let it go diet again. 9th winner for the Hex.
yeah, my brother's always worked on cars, so he used to tear a lot of things apart, and I used to take a lot of those spare pieces that were left over and build new things out of them.
Turtles
That was
only.
kind of my thing. Was I would collect the spare parts of the things that he didn't get back together and had extra parts. We were joking about that the whole time. We were taking this thing apart. I'm like, I don't want a box full of spare parts from this. We got to get this thing back together the way that it was. He's like, I always get things back together. I said, yeah. I said, but you usually have a big box of spare parts. I know. I used to collect those spare parts.
So I'm dropping the link for the person who actually did paintings of these NFTs. And then we're going to do one more drawing for the winner of the Pulse Waves, the more rare one. So here we go. 35 people entered in. There can only be one winner.
I want Briz to win. Briz, come on, Briz.
Turtles only.
There you go. And now, Bristology did win a link to jump on stream with us, and I already sent that to you on Twitter. So congratulations to all of our winners. DM me on Twitter, twitter.com/MATIALLIN. Message me your address. You can make a new address if you want to do it that way. For security purposes, for privacy. Right on. Well, what else? What else do we have to talk about? Should we just beat up on Brizology until he gets here to defend himself, or what? Oh, I got a good one. So you guys maybe heard my my oh so clever way of getting Richard to spill all the beans about the PulseChain developments, right? Because I told him like, hey, like who do you love more, right? I made him choose, and I also, between Ivan on Tech and myself, and that was like,
there was no
that was a really deep way of asking too, though, because like people have been teasing on Twitter that Richard would announce the V3, or he would announce something like on a very upcoming stream with Ivan on Tech, and so I was just kind of poking fun at the whole situation, like. But also, I did know that people wanted me to ask about PulseChain, so there's like a lot of like layers to that approach that I used to ask the question. And but it's funny today because
Ivan's a busy dude. He's not doing the release on Ivan on Tech just because there's an Ivan on Tech interview. So you guys buy the rumor, sell the news bullshit. Just quit screwing around. Buy and stake your HEX and get over it. You're not getting an announcement, okay? Because every time he gives an announcement, you guys give him shit for it. That's why there are devs that are giving you updates now, and Richard won't say shit about it, because last time he gave you guys a time frame, you busted his balls because it was something he completely did not have power over whatsoever. And let me tell you something. He is annoyed more than anybody else. He is a control freak. He has no control over this situation. He's waiting on people. He hates to wait. Richard absolutely hates to wait. You talk to him about waiting. Waiting makes him feel poor. He doesn't like to feel poor. He hates waiting. Okay. No one hates waiting more than Richard. Get it through your head. No one hates waiting more than Richard. And there's not a damn thing he can do about it because he's dependent on other people's skill sets in order to finish this out. And there's not anything he can do. He can't bust out the shock collars. He can't bust out the cattle prods. He can't make these guys work any harder. And he wouldn't want to anyway because he wants it to be right.
Good points. Yeah, Richard doesn't like waiting, and I thought, and like, I like, I'm happy whenever he wants to announce it. I meant what I said about like no expectations for anything, and if he wants to announce it on Amazon Tech, that's fine. But I thought it was funny. I asked him the question, and then I looked today on Twitter. Guess who's following me?
Ivan on Tech now?
Yeah. I was like, wow, I didn't mean for that to happen, but
Ivan has been neutral to the best of his ability in the situation that he is in. He has been, to the best of his ability, neutral. He's had Richard on his show several times. We've had a lot of aggressive Hexicans up in Ivan's grill. I don't necessarily agree with everything that Ivan does or what he sells or whatever, but he has been genuine neutral towards the Hex community for the most part. And the funniest thing I remember was Ivan was perfectly aware, because he's a smart dude. Ivan's no joke. That guy's a developer. He's a very smart dude. Now, you want to get into ethics or whatever, you may or may not like him, but as far as intelligence, he's very smart. He knows what's going on. And when he noticed that CoinMarketCap was gatekeeping hacks and the CoinGecko, he made a comment, well, I'm going to call them and check on this, because he knew something wasn't right. But this is how I imagine the phone call went. So what's up with Hex being gatekept? Oh, do you like your sponsorship money? Yes, I like my sponsorship money. Then shut up about it. Okay. That's kind of how that went, right? But he was going to check into it, and I imagine that's kind of how that went, because we know how those sites are. They do what they want. They sell themselves as a fair and trusted site, and they just do what they want. They modify the numbers as they see fit, and then they market themselves as a fair and trusted site. And they do have sponsorships, which is funny because CoinMarketCap actually ended their sponsorship of influencers. They ended that program, by the way, which we produced evidence to which that they had a program where they were paying influencers basically to refer you to that site. And the reason they did that is so that they could sell their advertisements by getting those millions of clicks per month. They have so the whole business model is, right, the clicks that you have is currency, right, for selling your advertisement, whether it's an influencer, selling, okay, I'll do a review or we'll do a sponsorship. Their clicks are their currency. And the same thing with the websites like CoinMarketCap, their clicks are their currency. Everybody uses our site. So they get the influencers to send people there to build up their clicks so that they can charge high prices to cryptocurrencies to advertise on their platform. That is just the business. And that's how it's always been. So is what it is, guys.
Yeah. And then somebody asked in the comments, like, we can't give you tax advice because the tax laws are different, not only year to year, but also in every different jurisdiction. So I don't even really want to comment on it at all. There are jurisdictions in the world where it would not be the case that you would pay taxes on something that's burned. So that's one of the cool things about how Hex was designed, is that if it's burned, it has no value. And it's like really, 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 really clear that it doesn't have a value, and like, just because you can multiply like the TShare price by the HEX dollar price and all that doesn't mean you can actually trade the coins. And so it's important to remember, like, HEX isn't, like your HEX that you've time locked is not actually still sitting there in your wallet. You don't have access to it. And that kind of answers the question that this person had asked, and thanks for the super chat there. Is it true that we have to pay taxes on each stake yearly, even on our long-term stakes ? I mean, and then there's something called long-term and short-term taxes. And
I don't know. Do you got to pay tax on a comic book that you haven't sold yet?
Usually taxes are paid when you swap one cryptocurrency for another.
When you make something.
Yeah. Or yeah.
Until you make something,
and
it's subjective on what its value actually is.
I mean, some people are like way more libertarian than I am. Like for me, like I paid my taxes early this year. Like I'm all over it. And here we have another prankster here to join us. It's Brissology.
Hey,
I don't know how he got the link, but maybe I sent it to him.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I was actually at the store, and then I heard the NFT giveaway. And then I got home, and then I saw the link. I'm like, all right, I'll jump on.
All right.
So, how's everyone doing?
Surviving.
Maddie, that conference was freaking awesome, dude.
You liked it?
Oh, I loved it. 4 hours with freaking
glad.
Richard. Oh, dude, that was awesome. We brought back T-shirt Richard. This is the Richard everyone loves. So yeah,
man, yeah, it was and it just so happened this year, same dates as last year, landed like Friday through Monday, and so here we are on Tuesday, and it's already time to stream again. But I wasn't gonna break the 111-week streak, just because I had a big conference. But it's enjoyable to get together with you guys and break down all this HEX stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. And just building on what you guys were just talking about versus taxes. I really feel like you don't have to pay taxes until a taxable event happens. And what that taxable event is, different from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So
it's funny though. This,
thanks for the gas.
I started a post earlier today where I was talking about, are people ready for success? Are they really ready to be wealthy? And what's interesting about that is people will create things in their own way. Oh, I don't want to make money because I'm afraid to pay taxes. Well, if you have money, you can afford your taxes. But it's really funny because people will do this kind of thing to themselves where they're like, yeah, but I don't want to mess with it because if I do, then I'm going to make money and I'm going to have to pay taxes. I don't want to do that. Well, if you didn't make the money, you wouldn't have to pay the taxes. I guess that's correct, but you're also missing on the part that you're making money. It's not like you're paying them everything that you're making, right? So we make excuses for ourselves not to do things, not to succeed. The moment we have enough money, they got a program like.
Are you comfortable enough paying them 50% of all your capital gains?
Am I comfortable enough with paying them 50% of all my capital gains? It's not 50%, but
are you saying I can gain 50% more than I already had?
But I gained 50% more than I already have. Yeah. So if it was 10%, it's still 10% more. If I only get to keep 10%, it's still 10% more money than I had to begin with, right? But it's all these things that we do to prevent ourselves from succeeding, right? Like if we get a lump sum of money, what's the first thing we do? As just
Lambo.
General, what is the first thing general they go, oh, I'm going to pay this off. They're either I'm going to pay this off or I'm going to buy myself this really nice thing because it's a scarcity mindset. It's if I don't do it now, I'm never going to be able to do it. So let me hurry up and get rid of everything that I got so that I can get this thing. So at least I can say that I got this thing. This one time I was able to get this thing. And I'll always remember this one time I got this thing. People aren't in a mindset to, okay, Now that I got this thing, how do I pay the taxes? How do I pay for the maintenance? What is the upkeep of this thing? What kind of costs are going to be incurred because I've now purchased this thing, right? So
The
it's
things
like,
you own end up owning you.
that is exactly that, right?
The
So
things you stake end up staking you.
the things you stake
Just
end up paying you for the rest of your entire life. So if you give up everything that's producing you money, you now have lost your ability to produce money. Now, I don't care. Y'all want to go buy watches and Lambos and shit, go ahead. Go ahead. But that is a one-time lump sum lottery mentality. And what happens is those people run out of money. They end up back to work and they run out of money. Celebrities, stars that have quit with their bigger income jobs end up working as desk clerks somewhere, because even though they made a lot of money at one time, they didn't make plans to put it in a way where they have money coming out regularly. And that's what HEX is actually programmed to allow you to do, is to have that money coming out regularly. If you're just looking for that all in, all out scenario, go buy yourself a meme coin. Go ahead, because you've not matured enough yet for HEX. Go buy your meme coin, go buy your Lambo, go drive it around the block till the wheels fall off and it costs you $100,000 to get it repaired, and then see what you lost. What I
Plot
suggest,
twist. The
what I
meme coin is
suggest
HEX.
is if you make a certain amount of money, then you can take 5% of your gains, okay? And then go rent yourself a Lambo and have a good vacation. Because that's what you want. You want the ability to do these things. But, you know, if you live in like if you live where I live, you might get maybe a month you can drive that Lambo. The rest of the year it's sitting in the garage. Okay.
Yep.
So that does me absolutely no good whatsoever. I would rather have a 4x4 vehicle that I could get around all year and pull stuff, and it actually has some utility to it. So, you know, some of these things are not really all that useful. Do you need $100,000 watch on your wrist to tell time?
Yes.
No, you don't.
Yes.
You don't. You do not need on your. You know what $100,000 watch around your wrist is?
Liability.
That is asking for a wrench attack.
It's a
That is
target on
asking
your
for somebody
wrist.
to knock you in the head or cut off your arm, giving the people a reason to harm
liability.
you. And that's why you will never see. It doesn't matter how much money I have. You are never going to see me wear a $30,000, $15,000 watch on my wrist. I'm not going to give people an excuse to knock me in the head. Oh, I do that enough as it is. I don't really need to do it with jewelry.
What if they made a Rolex that made more Rolexes for you?
If they made a Rolex that made more Rolexes for me and I could
the
sell
longer
them,
you have it.
I would totally be in on that.
It's called a HEX.
But I'm not gonna sell my thing that makes more things for me.
It's the golden goose. You don't cook the golden
nothing for me.
goose.
I am not exactly sure what this question is asking. Thanks for the $1.99 super chat. You said, do you consider 10K PLS at bottom sack wealthy? So bottom, I don't know what that means. I'm just going to assume that you mean like when there was like different rates that you could get. And I would say that if you're saying $10,000 versus like 10,000 points, so probably if you're giving a $1.99 super chat, you probably sacrificed more than $1 to Pulse that got you 10,000 points. So I'm gonna assume that you mean $10,000 worth. And I mean, I would say that well, what do we know? You're probably in the top 20% of wallets or something. So yeah,
What
that
I
would make you
is this is
that'd make you at
another
least like
individual that's looking for a
squid
lottery ticket, and they want to know
or a
if it's
dolphin.
going to pump enough so that they can dump their whole entire bag so that they can retire, and then they're going to run out of money because now they're just thinking, what's wealthy? Wealth is earned over time.
But
it's not an immediate thing. You don't make one-time purchase and then win the lottery. Okay.
That's the problem with most people that buy cryptos. They buy all cryptos as like a one-time lottery purchase.
It's a one-time lottery purchase, and that's what people look at it at. The whole point of our community has been from the start is to teach good habits of delayed gratification, thinking for the future, sending money to your future self, and waiting and building wealth over time, not a lump sum lottery ticket. Okay. The other thing is with the wealth. Okay. That's not wealth. All right. Being all in or all out is not how you build wealth. How you build wealth is growing your position over time, not just making a one-time purchase.
Like apple trees.
So try to get the mindset. In order to have that mindset to succeed, you cannot think in terms of all in, all out. That's the kicker.
He did mean 10,000 USD.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks for the $10 super chat. On top of that, was holding for sure. Just curious what you folks think. Yeah, I mean, like, look,
That's a good position,
hey,
man.
If you
He
put
noticed you
$10,000
shaming
into
him
HEX,
for the $2 super chat, so he's like, I gotta do.
well, let's crunch a couple of numbers because it's Tuesday night. Let's
All right,
say like, let's
can I
say,
give my opinion real quick?
Go for it. Go for it.
In my opinion, this is obviously not like this is what it will do. I just think it's extremely potential that anyone that sacrificed at some point will be able to redeem a 1000x return in the future. I think it's potential to do more than 1,000. So, in my opinion, I think it's going over 1,000x. So just kind of look at it like that. So every $1,000 that you put into the sacrifice, almost like a year and a half ago, could turn into $1 million at 1,000x.
And 100x is 100. Actually, 100x is 10 million, isn't it? 10,000. Add
100x is 100,000 if you put in 1,000.
Yeah, so 10,000 would be $1 million.
No, 1,000 for a $1,000.
Oh, 1,000. So okay, it's $10 million. So 10,000 could be $10 million with 100x. So
yep,
that's
yeah,
a
exactly.
pretty solid position. So here's the thing. It is actually easier to sell the bottom than to hold through the pumps. You're going to find this out if you have not been through a bull market yet. You're going to find out real quick when that first 10x hits. You're not going to wait for that 100. You're not. If you're not in a position where you've got it locked, you will want to tap out at 100. Tap out at that first 10. You'll want to tap out at that 100. Making it to 1,000 is crazy. Making it through that 10,000x and coming back down all the way and not wanting to tap out, that's really hard, guys. Really hard, because there are only a few coins that have ever done a 10,000x. Just a handful. Okay. That's a rarity. That's not a baseline. That's a rarity. And it's hard. It's really hard to hold through that level of gains, because back what I was saying earlier, you start telling yourself, well, how many of these coins do I really need? You start telling yourself that. How much of these coins do I really need? Because it's going to go up. So how many of these do I really? I can let some of these go, and then they're gone, because the price goes away from you and they're gone. And with Pulse, you need to understand something very carefully. You ain't getting more. Pulse is deflationary. Okay. So this is a different scenario. Pulse is deflationary. You're not able to earn more Pulse in the same way that you could earn more HEX. Because HEX is inflationary, Pulse is deflationary. So think about that very carefully before you unload large amounts of your stack.
Listen,
I've unloaded large amounts of my sack before.
Look,
sorry.
If you put $10,000 into TShares when they were on day 3 $7 each, then you would have gotten 1,400 TShares. That would have made you a dolphin. You'd still be a dolphin today if you time locked it long enough. And if you had dollar cost averaged in over, let's say, a couple months, then you might have even gotten up to a shark with $10,000. Now,
Yeah, you could have been a shark with 10 grand. Yeah.
You know, or you could have you could have staked longer, and then you could have been like a mid-size dolphin, because you would have gotten 3 times as many TShares than the price you were paying for a $7 short T-share. But I think that probably more money went into PulseChain than went into HEX at those prices. And so those are some different metrics that you could hold it against if you're trying to ask yourself that. For me, what my strategy is I'm going to try to time lock my PulseChain and PulseX tokens and drip them back to myself so that I don't get tempted to sell them if the price goes up or down a lot. And especially with what Johnny just said about the deflationary nature there. I mean, it's like TShares are deflationary, and so is PulseChain and PulseX tokens. And, you know, it's just, I saw K4K doing some math today on Twitter about just having way more validators than I think we would have. But if there were a couple 100,000 validators, I don't know why that would be, but if there were, that would be a big chunk of the supply that would be locked up from just that. I think there's lots of ways that people will betray themselves when they see a 10x, like Johnny just said, if you don't have a plan that you can stick to.
It's important. The most important thing you can do, Maddie, is for these people that with this lottery sum mentality, they got to get this straight. The most important thing you can do is be in a position where you don't need to sell. Okay? Don't over leverage. Don't borrow against your credit cards. Don't mortgage your house. Don't use the Michael Saylor method. What is important is you have a position that you are comfortable with leaving for a long period of time. That is going to make far more money than chasing the first pump to unload all of your bags. What hurts the price is when people over leverage and then they turn around and dump it immediately as soon as they get a 2 or 5x, right? That drops the price back down, which is fine because I'm a net buyer of Pulse for the first year. You guys cannot buy my Pulse. If you wanted to, you can pick me up and shake me off a cliff. I'm not selling you my Pulse. Okay.
Wow.
So deal with it. But
one of the ways that I protected myself,
one of the ways I protected myself
with my HEX, I made a monthly staking ladder before big payday.
Nice.
Excuse me. And you know, that was great. Quite honestly, I think monthly is a little too often. If I would have done it differently, I would have done it quarterly. But I remember also I put in large stakes. You know, this was like sub 1 penny HEX at the time. I put in large amounts of HEX every 6 months, and I'm not going to say the number, but I put a certain amount of HEX every 6 months, just so I know, like, hey, if this thing ever goes to like $1, I'm going to be good. And I won't be like if I flooded myself out earlier, no big deal, because I got X amount of HEX coming out every year for the next 15 years.
Anybody that sold HEX year 1 wish they didn't sell any of it.
Oh man, I shouldn't have sold my HEX.
That's really a fact. Anybody that sold HEX year 1 wishes they hadn't. Now, everybody wishes they would have sold on year 2, but year 1, anybody that sold during year 1 wishes they hadn't. And
in year 5, people are going to be like, anyone that sold in year 2 are just kicking themselves. So remember, we're going to be really, really sad when HEX goes from $5 to 40 cents. People at 40 cents are going to be like, this is the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Or drops from $100 down to $4, right? That would be insane, wouldn't it?
That's exactly what it will do.
Well, Bitcoin went down from $30 to $2, you know, and if you would have told a Bitcoiner that Bitcoin was going to be, you know, $70,000 a Bitcoin when it dropped from $30 to $2, even if you sold that $30, man, what good did you do yourself? Just because you didn't wait, right? But You have to be, this is the most important thing. You just have to be in a position where you don't need to sell. If you can do that and you can hold through it, you'll be fine. Don't.
Imagine telling people when Bitcoin was at $600 that Michael Saylor would be almost jumping out of a window when it's at 15 grand.
Yeah, because Michael Saylor couldn't stand it, man. He said it was going to die and everything else. I mean, people don't understand how these things change and how few currencies actually come along that have product market fit. Product market fit is not something you just get to say, okay, we have product market fit. No, product market fit is something that the market tells you. Something that the market tells you over time. And to be honest with you, we haven't confirmed that yet with HEX. How do we confirm that? When we have our next cycle and we break that all-time high, we have now confirmed that HEX has product market fit.
Not necessarily.
So until we hit our next all-time high in our next cycle, that's when we're able to confirm it. So I love it when these things come right out of the gate and they're 1 month old and people are like, we've got product market fit. Like hell you do.
I kind of disagree, Johnny. I think that, just because it goes up, it could just be a couple small big player or a couple big players in a very small pond driving the price up and down. What really makes it, say, hey, we got product market fit is adoption. I think right now we have probably way under 100,000 people. When we have 1 million people, we have product market fit. In my opinion, that's just my opinion, though.
That's an aspect, but what I'm talking about is a way to actually signify that is most coins don't have a second cycle, right? We had a lot of coins that did not break their previous all-time highs this cycle. Neo didn't go back up. Neo didn't go back up and break it. Litecoin didn't go back up and break it. XRP didn't break $3.20. Bcash, yep. So we've got all these different things that did not go up and break their original all-time high in this last cycle. And that's actually kind of disappointing because I thought some of this stuff would. Now, mind you, if you still bought it, when it first came out, you're still up. But it did not break its previous all-time high. And it's very rare. It's another rarity for a coin to make that achievement in its next cycle to break that all-time high.
The thing that gives me the most bullish, sentiments is just imagining what HEX could look like with 1 million stakers. Man, just 1 million people. That's all we need. We got 1 million people in here. I'm telling you guys.
It's not going to stop there.
And it's not going to stop there.
Well, Celsius had like 5 million, didn't they?
It was above 1 million, but I didn't know that it was much more.
One of them had 5 million. I don't know
if you believe their numbers.
I didn't give somebody else my coins to watch for me, so I don't
lying
really keep
about
track
their
of that
numbers.
shit.
They lie about their numbers. They lie. It's confirmed they lie. They're confirmed liars.
Confirmed.
Look, Nagabo already said he already said the prayers that he needed to in order to bring in 1 million stakers. So now we just got to be patient and onboard as many people as we can, of course. And
I want us to turn bullish again because I want Naga to come back to the HEX family and start doing his thing again. He's a great hype man when the prices are good, but I get it. He didn't get in when a lot of us did, and we were trying to push him back in the day to get in subset. It took him a while to come around.
Well, we've had a great show tonight, and I want to thank you guys for hopping on and joining the gang of Game Theory and everything HEX and hexconference.com. If people didn't check out the HEX conference or missed parts of it, you can go to hexconference.com and see the schedule. You can, zoom in on
Richard posted his portion
like
on his channel.
He sure did. Yeah. And I assume Hexologist made the thumbnail for that of him twerking, proof of twerk.
Guaranteed,
so that's all
100%.
good. And yeah. So thanks for being here. Hit the like and subscribe button. Streaming every Tuesday and Thursday night. Thanks guys for joining. And make sure to follow these guys wherever they go.
I'm hiding. You'll never find me.
Hey guys.
Bye, guys.
Until next time, stake wisely, my friends.
Where's the music?
And-
Stake
yeah.
long and stake hard.
Hodl.
Got you.